need a break from the sound bites and the talking heads? Do you want information you can actually use? Information that'll change your life for the better? Then listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Del will show you how to retire in 2 to 5 years. Your age doesn't matter. Turn off the pundits and turn on the passive income. Tune in to the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Tune in to the Del Walmsley Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. Weeknights at 7 on 97.1 FM Talk.
At Tucker Allen Law Firm, we are thankful for our community, in particular our veterans. During the month of November, Tucker Allen is collecting and donating items for the St. Patrick's Center move-in supply kits to support our veterans. These kits are used by the St. Patrick's Center to provide veterans with items they need to start their new home. For more information on how to donate with Tucker Allen, please visit tuckerallen.com/Veterans Day.
97.1 FM Talk is on the radio and online on your smart speaker, on your phone, and streaming anytime at 971talk.com. Find it all at radio.com. 97.1 FM Talk. The Annie Frey Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous. I wish I had had a couple of those softball questions when I was in the briefing room. I don't remember any reporter at any point ever setting up any type of friendly questions the way that they do with Joe Biden.
You know, when you listen to, that's Sarah Huckabee Sanders there, of course, the former press secretary for President Trump, talking about softball questions that Joe Biden's been getting asked. I mean, can you even name a softball question that he's been asked? I mean, you have to actually think about questions that he has actually been asked first from reporters. I was just taking some notes down here, and name a Democrat who's under scrutiny by the media. Just name a Democrat, any of them. Is it Andrew? Is it Governor Cuomo for what he did in the nursing homes? Oh no, wait, he just got an Emmy, so scratch that. Okay. Oh, and he also wrote a book about like the 101 of how to handle a pandemic. And if you go to New York, there's a lot of people there thinking that maybe he should read somebody else's book about how to handle a pandemic and try again. What about Gavin Newsom? Is he under scrutiny from the media after he is shut down? I mean, he's got people protesting in the streets, and he's got a lot of unrest from people who are saying, you know, what are you doing here in California? Like, this is not freedom. This is not America. And he's doing all this in the midst of that dinner party that he was photographed at. And I'm here to promise you folks, he didn't get photographed the only time that he decided to break his own rules. I guarantee you that he has bent those rules for himself more than just the time that it was exposed. What about Nancy Pelosi when she went and got her hair done and nobody else was allowed to get their hair done and she wasn't wearing a mask and did she really get scrutinized by the media? And I'm not talking about the right wingers, the pundits who can't stand Nancy Pelosi and scrutinize her because the sun came up in the east that morning. I'm talking about the media as a whole. Are they scrutinizing Nancy Pelosi? What about the fact that Nancy Pelosi has been unable to get another COVID relief package through to help small businesses who are suffering, specifically in these Democratic-run states where they're not allowed to go about their business? Who's out there scrutinizing Nancy Pelosi for that? Nobody. What about Chuck Schumer in the Senate, who all he does is read his crypt keeper-like speeches from the Senate floor and push out, you know, more divisive vitriol each and every day, where nothing ever gets done? What has Chuck Schumer gotten done in the last, I don't care, you pick a time period. What about the North Carolina Senate candidate who got trounced by Tillis eventually, who was being propped up as somebody who was probably going to unseat Tillis in that Senate race. And he was exposed for having an affair. And the storyline was he's doing surprisingly well in these polls, despite the fact that he got busted for having an affair. And he's been very apologetic for it. He said he was sorry many times. This story, it just goes to show how stupid these polls continue to be. And they prop them up and they use it for the emphasis to raise money. They use polls specifically so that they can get you to donate more money. It's disgusting. What about Dianne Feinstein, who was walking through a private section of the airport maybe a month ago without a mask on? Who's scrutinizing her? Where's anybody in the media scrutinizing any of these Democrats? And I didn't even mention yet Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are likely to be the next president and vice president of the United States. You've got Sarah Huckabee Sanders talking about how she wishes she could get some of these softball questions, just questions in general. Seriously, take a moment and think about any of these Democrats who are in office and the kind of scrutiny that they aren't getting. Think about the fact that these Democrats are leading the country, their districts, their states. They're not even pressed. They're not even tested on their policies. And it makes me so frustrated to see that if Donald Trump puts something on Twitter, it's marked. If he puts something on Facebook, it's marked. If he puts something out into the world, the media marks it. You can't continue to have a free country and a fair country like this. And I don't think that there's a solution to it, because the solution, I know a lot of people are frustrated with Fox News. You've put Fox News on the shelf for a while. Maybe you'll take it out and dust it off later when you need a little bit more of that back in your life, but you might be taking a break right now. And I know a lot of people are going to Newsmax or OAN. Listen, the solution to this problem is not news that's all based on how you think in your opinion. It's the fact that we have a complete and total absence of anybody out there who is digging to the bottom of whatever is going on in whatever story that exists and exposing truth. When you expose truth, then you trust the person who you're repeating this truth to. People like you and me, simpletons in the middle of the country here, who are trying to figure out what the heck is going on in the world and in our country right now. When you expose and report truth, you're trusting the people to make their own decisions and to choose wisely, specifically the next time you have an election, to make sure that the right people get in and the wrong people get out. Seriously, think of a single Democrat right now who's under scrutiny. Who's the last Democrat that was under scrutiny? Anthony Weiner? Didn't help that his last name is unfortunate for him. It's impossible to compare the two. And if a Republican comes out, and if we can talk about election results, we can talk about who's going to be the president next. The truth is that it's Joe Biden until we get some evidence that suggests otherwise. And Rudy Giuliani made a case last week that he has evidence, but until he proves that in a court of law, it's not going to matter. And Joe Biden's going to be the president. When you look at the makeup of the Trump campaign legal team, and you see that it's a list of people, and they've made very clear that Sidney Powell is not part of that team anymore, or any less, it makes you wonder what's going on here. And I see people saying, oh, it's just part of the plan. Okay, well, I can't live like that. I can't live like there's some master plan that exists. It's like it's the anti-deep state, that there is some sort of master plan out there. I don't know that that's the truth. I'm willing to sit back and watch and see how this unfolds, to see what gets presented in a court of law, to see what a judge says. Yeah, this is fair, because we see the president winning some appeals. We see the president winning some of his court cases. We see the president, the Trump campaign withdrawing some. See, this is another thing. They'll withdraw a court case because what they were in court for ended up happening anyway. And then the entire media reports Trump campaign withdraws court lawsuit in Michigan. Well, they withdrew it because what they wanted to have happen was happening already. You can't trust any of it. It turns me inside out when I'm watching these different news networks, and it seems to be all of them. And there's advocacy behind every single report. Where do you go to get honest truth? Where do you go to get what's real? And how do you know how to comb through everything that is out there right now and find out what's real? I mean, I look through Twitter, folks, and when I'm looking through Twitter, everybody's making bold statements. It's killing me. Like everybody is making, what is it, 280 characters, 240 characters? Everybody's doing 200 and whatever character mic drops. And everybody thinks that they've said the most brilliant thing ever. And then like you tune in the next day to Twitter and everybody's doing the same thing again, but there's no traction. There's no movement. And there's no truth. There's nothing that's real because everybody's making predictions. Everybody wants to be ahead of the curve. Who is going to be the entity, the person that is going to rise out of this and report truth to an audience of how many people who want to hear it? You know, that's the thing that scares me the most about this election cycle. And this is not of Trump's doing. Trump was made from this. Trump was created out of this. This is not a result of a Trump administration. Trump was the response to 8 years of Barack Obama being in office, where, you know, I was listening to Outnumbered before I came on here, and I forgot about this, but it's true. The Obama administration spied on reporters that were reporting on what was going on in the administration. Spied on them. There's no trust there. And how many, you know, really tough interviews do you remember Barack Obama going through in his 8 years with the mainstream media? It didn't happen. Is it gonna be that way with Joe Biden? I mean, when Joe Biden continues to make massive mistakes when he speaks, he continues to not have a command of what he's saying. And when he speaks that way, I see a lot of people quick to say that he has a stutter. He hasn't had a problem with this stutter for the other 47 years, at least in public office. Like, I don't ever remember in those years that I've been alive that long, shockingly, but in the time that I've been around and Joe Biden has been in a very high level office, I don't ever remember people having to make excuses for him stuttering or to say that his stutter was something that we need to not pay attention to, that we need to understand this is part of who he is. I'm not opposed to a stutter. I understand that he has a stutter, but he's still the president of the United States. And when you listen to the way he speaks and he says things that are not true and he says things that are wrong, and then the campaign, 36 hours later tries to correct it, he's probably going to be the president of the United States. He can say whatever he wants. Donald Trump says things in plain sight, and then we got to spend weeks dissecting what the dog whistles were that the crazies in the media heard the president say. And we got to figure out what the president is and isn't based on what he inferred, based on what people who hate him thought that they heard. This is not a fair fight. And the lack of the fair fight makes it very difficult, especially in a time right now where you want to have someone you can go to. You want to have a place you can go to who's going to uncover that truth and trust you to be the adult that you are and handle it, whether it goes your way or it doesn't go your way. It's a problem for our country going forward. I don't see how this is going to get better with a Biden presidency. I definitely see it getting worse if Trump gets reelected into office, if his lawsuits come through. But it is, in my opinion, it is the biggest crisis of our time. Because if there's no truth, then there's no honesty in government. And if there's no honesty in government, then we are in big trouble. Big trouble. And I see a lot of people who see that, and it's frightening. That's why we have to constantly, that's why I'm so in neutral when it comes to reporting what's going on with these election results. There's a million words I could throw out, like Dominion and something omatic and whatever it was, what is it? Skinematic or something like
Smartmatic.
that. Skinematic. Got it. And, like just the constant drumbeat of stick to the plan. And this person's good because this person said something good about Trump. And now this person's bad because they said something bad about Trump. I can't keep up with it, folks. I don't think you can either. I think it's probably dragging you down as much as it's dragging me down. We're going to speak with Mark Lauder. I'm really excited to talk to the Trump 2020 Director of Strategic Communications at 1:25 and let him kind of set the table for us. What's realistic? What are we looking at going forward? How is this going to turn out, and where do Americans need to go to find out what's real and what's true? He's going to talk to us about that in the middle of the 1 o'clock hour. When we come back, we're going to find out about that Thanksgiving dinner that you're planning with Dr. Scott Hardeman. Maybe he'll have some tips on how we can do this safely and in the comfort of our own homes with a family member or two in tow. Dr. Scott Hardeman on the weekly pandemic update in just a minute. Don't go away.
I can't do what 10 people tell me to do.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show.
Here resting my bones.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the Mark Cox Morning Show.
Are you looking for an IT company that you can rely on? Well, I have just the folks for you. I want to introduce you to Forensic IT. Forensic IT is available at forensicit.com. And when you reach out to them, you're going to learn how they have been taking care of people on both sides of the Mississippi River, but also some large enterprises across the country. Forensic IT can help you with a whole host of different things like system crashes, viruses, or frozen applications that are frustrating you each and every day, or you just fear when they're going to land on your work and slow you down. If you need someone who can help you with manufacturing support, system patching, antivirus updates, backup, disaster recovery solutions, new system installations, or proactive maintenance, Forensic IT can help you work to maximize your uptime with your system and discover any root cause problems that you may be experiencing to make sure that you don't have to deal with them and that they get dealt with once and for all. 314-677-3950. 314-677-3950. ForensicIT.com.
I'm listening daily. You are not alone. During these challenging times, listening is fundamental to promoting understanding and healing. Here's Duff McKagan on how exercise improved his mental health.
The working out is key. In my case, the depression that I've now had 2 separate episodes of, I would force myself into the gym and I'd force myself just to do 100 push-ups, and I would have some peace in there. And you have to get out. You got to run. Even if you run just around your block, you're too far from home. But what I gained from my martial art, my particular sort of martial art, is there's a meditation. It's called concentration meditation. And if I have a panic attack, I instantly go there and know that I'm going to be okay, get through it. And it's helped me innumerable times.
Talk has the power to save lives. Find out more at imlistening.org.
The hottest trend in flooring is waterproof Cortec vinyl plank. It's perfect for every room in the house.
Ambassador Midwest Floor made a special purchase on Cortec's most popular colors and styles. In stock now and ready for pickup or delivery.
And Cortec is easy to install. Nearly anyone can do it yourself.
Large 7-inch wide planks, normally $6.99 a square foot, are now nearly...
That's one heck of a deal.
This month at all 4 Ambassador Midwest Floor showrooms.
Experience more at Ambassador
Midwest Floor.
Being safe doesn't mean being scared. We all want to get back to what we love, to going out, shopping local, even going to work and school. But to protect the people we care about, it's important that we all take precautions. You can feel okay and still spread this virus. Wearing masks, washing your hands, and social distancing can get us back to a world where we can all breathe a little easier. Show me you care at showmestrong.mo.gov.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at ThrottleNet.com. So it's crazy time at ThrottleNet. They are IT geniuses, but they are a little bit nutty. Right now, they will pay you $250 for a conversation about your IT support because they value your time during the crazy pandemic. They'll give you the first 30 days for free, no charge for all of their services, and then they'll pay you another $1,000 if you decide decide to leave in the first 30 days for your trouble. They don't anticipate that you're going to leave, but if you do, they'll shake your hand, they'll put you back where you were, and they'll write you a check for $1,000. It is completely no risk, and they reward you for your time and for your effort. They are the best IT shop in the city, named number 1 5 years straight. They are good guys. Like I said, they are geniuses at protecting you, but they can communicate. They don't stare at their shoes. They look you in the eye and they tell you what you need to know. ThrottleNet.com/971.
If it's bumper to bumper or smooth sailing, Sue Thomas has you covered with dependable traffic. Driven by Ambassador Midwest Floor Company, the best way to deal with in-home traffic. Experience more at Ambassador Midwest Floor.
Woke up this morning, the vision in my head looked so good. I went right back to bed. Seemed run to the ocean.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Thanks for joining us today. We're very happy that you've chosen to spend a Thanksgiving week Monday with us. I think for a lot of folks, this is a short week, and things seem to generally start getting crazy busy right now, but I don't know if the 2020 holiday season will be that way. Let's talk to Dr. Scott Hardeman about that. He's a physician at Gateway ENT and an urgent specialist, and he joins us each week to give us the latest on COVID. Dr. Hardeman, thanks for coming back. It's always great to have you here.
Thanks, guys. Welcome. Thanks. Appreciate it.
So number one question that I have, I think a lot of people have as well, is we're getting a lot of political advice as to how we should handle our holiday dinner this week. What are ways to do this safely, and what are some good things to consider, before you invite somebody over, before you go attend a dinner? What are some pieces of advice that you have as a medical professional regarding this holiday week?
Sure. I think the things to keep in mind would be, if the weather permits and it's not real cold outside, if there's a capacity to have your house real well ventilated, windows open, just to try and disperse any virus that's around. I would be responsible that the individuals coming to a gathering like that would be responsible. And if they have any sense that they have any kind of respiratory illness, just sit this one out. There's a chance, obviously, that you don't have coronavirus if you were starting to feel poorly, but it is difficult to know. And the responsible thing to do would be to sit it out, give it a day or two, and just see how the symptoms progress to determine what's going on with your own health. Keeping gatherings smaller, I think, are really key. It does stand to reason, obviously, that the more people you have in a gathering, especially if you're going to be sitting across the table from them and communicating and laughing and carrying on, that there's a chance if someone makes it into the system or into the home or the environment with the virus, that's going to be one of these events where it could really spread around to other folks. Transmission of these illnesses is always difficult. No one really knows exactly when events trigger this or not, but it does stand to reason that if you can limit exposure to someone sick, kind of fingers crossed to some degree that there's not someone who's pre-symptomatic there that doesn't have symptoms yet. They could still be contagious a few days before they have their onset of symptoms, and then try and space out in the home, keep the gathering a little bit less. There's a lot of talk about masks in your own home like that. I don't know how many people are going to adhere to that. I think probably best advice is to really just try and keep your distance away from people and keep the environment well ventilated. And then, of course, just keep the number of people in the gathering a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think those all are sensible suggestions. I'm curious if you normally have a buffet type of a Thanksgiving meal, is it worse to have, everybody going through and touching the same spoon? Is it, and, dishing out the green beans on their plate and then the next person comes? Does that make a difference? Are those little things that matter?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I mean, I think you can certainly take it to that level and think that if someone is contagious or ill, that they could, they're going to be leaning over the top of the food. I would be more concerned about just breathing over the top of food and what have you, as opposed to, the serveware and what have you. But yeah, I think that's an excellent point, that trying to perhaps create, individualize or create plates individually would probably be better off.
Dr. Hardeman, this seems like probably a little bit of a silly question, but hey, it's November of 2020, so I'm going to ask anyway. What about hugs? What about, going in for a hug with somebody? I still hug my parents every time I see them, but I think about it and I think, is this safe or not?
Yeah, I think we need to kind of get back to just the brass tacks of what exposure, is. Back to within 6 feet of people, unprotected without masks, and then a longer period of time. It's still generally accepted that an exposure is, about 15 minutes or so. They did change those guidelines, a subtle variation to that it's cumulative 15 minutes with someone who's positive. So if you're coming in contact with multiple people, you can add up that period of time over a 24-hour period of time in 15 minutes. But generally speaking, spending a more prolonged period of time with someone, especially if they have symptoms, could you pass it to someone if you slipped in for a quick hug and no one's obviously sick and you just give someone a quick hug and then step away? In theory, yes, but I think short exposures like that are probably less risky.
So if you're if your gathering is with people, so for instance, I'm just going to put myself out there. I don't go very many places. I don't do many things. I see my parents and I see my husband's parents, and then I see my brother's family. That's pretty much the only social circle that I've had for quite some time. If I see them a couple times a week to begin with, is it really any more dangerous to have them over for Thanksgiving? Is it the extension from your normal small circle that makes it dangerous?
Yeah, I would say the first question is you're kind of in a bubble when you have that happen, right? You're coming in contact with the same people again and again. If their exposures on those extensions are fairly limited also, then it tends to make it safer for you, obviously. Being in somewhat of a quarantine prior to the Thanksgiving meal or the weekend thereof, where people are not out and about as much, that tends to lessen the likelihood that the virus could slip into the mix. But if the folks that you're hanging out with on a consistent basis are also being equally cautious, then you can kind of define yourself as being in, this quote unquote bubble of limited exposure at that point. So it's really not more dangerous unless they're out and about quite a bit.
So if you have symptoms, let's say if there was a situation where it was spread at Thanksgiving dinner, those symptoms can onset at what amount of time from, let's say, Thanksgiving is when it happens. So you get together on Thursday. How long can it take for symptoms to set in? And as soon as someone has symptoms, what is the right thing for them to do?
Sure. So the quarantine time is 14 days after a known exposure, but in the sense of just being at an event where there's people that you would contract it from, the average onset of symptoms is around 7 days or so. If you want to be tested right away after that, if your cousin calls you and says, "Hey, I tested positive," a day or two afterwards, there's really no point in doing that until at least a week period of time. Guidelines are anywhere from 5 to 8 days or so. We usually just say around 7 days or so. But that still doesn't capture 100% of those positives, because you can convert positive based upon all the guidelines about 14 days out from an exposure.
Well, since we're talking practical Thanksgiving, my family has talked about, I don't know if we'll do it, but we want to see grandma. We don't know if we're going to see grandma. So we talked about maybe putting up a buffet tray in her garage so that we could each kind of come in, go. Is that any better? I mean, is it better that it's open air like that?
Yeah, it is. It just disperses, better ventilation, disperses the potential viral load and the contact time that someone might have with the virus itself. I think we're all struggling with the same things, to be honest. Trying to decide what to do with mothers and grandmothers, and no one really has the perfect answer. We're desperately trying to create the right environment so we can spend time with family, because we don't know how many of these Thanksgiving we'll have with the older folks that are there. But at the same time, it's one of those things you'll look back on and feel badly if something happens as a result of that. It's not a foregone conclusion that an elderly individual is going to get this and have a bad outcome. Plenty of people still survive in that age group, but they do tend to get hit harder. So whatever you can do in that environment, I think that's certainly an option too. Hold it outdoors, to have it in the garage, have the doors open, and have better ventilation is always helpful.
So, Dr. Hardeman, if the Black Friday is this Friday, so if there are still sales that people have, if people are crowding the grocery stores to prepare for Thanksgiving dinner, I mean, is it more? I think about all the places we're not allowed to go. But the grocery stores, they've been open the whole time. And it's curious to me that we could crowd the grocery stores, or we could, crowd the department store that's going to have the cheap TV or something like that, that those places are going to be permitted to be open, when restaurants that could socially distance, wipe things down like crazy, everybody wears masks and so on and so forth, that they're not allowed to be. Is there a main difference that I'm missing when it comes to a certain set of four walls and a roof here doing something and a certain set of four walls and a roof over there doing something? Is there a major difference, or is there a factor that causes one to be more okay than the other?
Well, I think this really speaks to just the uncertainty of the whole situation. In theory, at a grocery store, department store, if the crowds are not large and people are passing by each other and they are wearing some sort of protective face covering, that period of time that they might come in contact with someone who is ill and is out and about, or is pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic and is out and about, is different. In a restaurant situation, the restaurants that you see open have done really a great job at trying to space the tables out, but you are there with your mask off. You are eating and drinking. They've done great things with ventilation for dining indoors and, of course, outdoors as well. The theory is you're correct. There's not a whole lot of difference from one to the other. There's either going to be exposure or there's not. But I think in a department store environment, assuming it's not just this crazy Black Friday stuff that we have a tendency to see where people are just falling all over each other, that's a different story. But passing by each other in an orderly fashion in the store, if you're wearing a protective face covering, the risk of contamination or exposure is pretty low at that point. In a restaurant, socially distancing, once your masks come off, all bets are off, obviously, but your wait staff and the crew that's working, obviously, they're trying to do the right thing and protect themselves and you as well. So, restaurants, I think the biggest difference there is that there's a period of time where masks are off, and there's sort of a theory that maybe in the ventilation in that environment indoors that there's more risk of breathing and respiratory secretions could pass around, the virus could pass around as well.
Well, let's take a quick break. We've got some folks who are asking questions on our Facebook Live and on our YouTube Live. Go to the Annie Frey Show Facebook page and comment your questions for the doc right now. If anything you want to know about COVID, we've had people ask what appear to be silly questions, and it turns out that a lot of people want to know the answer to that. You can go to the Annie Frey YouTube channel as well. Dr. Hardeman is going to be with us when we come back, along with your questions. We'll get his answers too. Stick around. We'll be back in just a minute.
Went right back to bed, dream run to the ocean.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
You have no trouble drowning me.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Furnace tune-ups are recommended each year to keep your heating system running efficiently and extend its life. Schedule your furnace tune-up and safety inspection and get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com. Windows. How many of you have those drafty windows? You know, the room that has the windows that are old. They came with the house probably when the house was built. They're, factory-based windows. They're vinyl, and they've just lived their lives, and the time has passed. You have to put a space heater in that room to keep the room from being so chilly and making the whole entire house cold. Let me introduce you to Infinity Windows that are exclusive to Lakeside Renovation and Design. They are fiberglass replacement windows, and they are 8 times stronger than vinyl. There are less frames around the windows. It gives you bigger, broader, more beautiful views from your house. And they also come with a ton of different finishes that you can use to really plus up the look of your windows on your home. Really classy way to make your windows, the finish of your windows, match the rest of your house. If you are tired of your warped frames on your old vinyl windows, rotted frames on wood windows, or leaky windows, or if they don't operate properly, if they don't go up and down right, you need to get them replaced, and you need to do it with the people you can trust. It's Lakeside Renovation and Design, 636-978-5000, online at lakesidерenovationanddesign.com.
Get ready for SEC football. Saturdays in Columbia, Missouri will look different than ever before. Your support during this time is needed now more than ever. A Southeastern Conference only schedule. It's the cream of the crop. It's SEC football at Faurot Field. To support your Tigers, contact the Tiger Scholarship Fund. Call 1-800-CAT-BOSS or visit tsfmizzou.com. MIZ.
Has this ever happened to you? My friend was telling me about his new pair of headphones, so I looked them up online. Now, everywhere I go is a creepy ad for those headphones. I looked up one time. I hate that feeling like I'm being watched. I got DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. It's that simple. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Selecting a financial advisor is one of the most important decisions you will make heading into retirement. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money every Saturday morning at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Choosing a financial advisor is a critical step in planning for your retirement. You want to find an advisor you can trust is working in your best interest with the experience to do the job well. Providing guidance solely in your best interest is foundational to our team's approach. And with over 90 years of combined experience, you can have confidence we have the depth of knowledge to help you navigate important financial decisions. If you're retiring in the next 5 years or need a second opinion on your current plan, contact us today for a free consultation. To schedule your free retirement planning consultation, contact us at bobstockdale.com. That's bobstockdale.com. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tony LaRussa here. Men, are you running out of stamina rounding third base? If so, call my friends at Victory Men's Health in O'Fallon, Illinois. Scoring at home is important, just as important as crossing the plate with the winning run. VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
This year, more than ever, it can be challenging for a child to be hospitalized over the holiday. Mark Cox here. Our gifts to SSM Cardinal Glennon help provide hope and healing to these patients, regardless of their ability to pay. Donations to the Tree of Hope support the Children's Fund. Your money might help with resources to keep these kids from falling behind in their studies or for the latest clinical trials that might otherwise be unavailable in St. Louis. Join me and give a gift of hope at Glennon.org.
Skip the holiday rush and shop early and safely at Shane Company. Get gifts of fine jewelry in every price range, wrapped with a burgundy bow and ready to give. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business.
Critical thinking for critical times. The free exchange of ideas. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Download the radio.com app and stream the station wherever you go.
So listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. And all day and all night and everything he sees is just blue, like him, inside and outside.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. It's Monday, so we are spending some time with Dr. Scott Hardeman to discuss the latest COVID news that you need to know from a nonpartisan perspective. So doctor's been holding on the line here. I got a question for you here from Pam on Facebook. What are your thoughts about wearing a face shield while eating indoors as a small family of 10?
Oh, but people eating a face shield?
Eating with face shields on, yeah. Does that make
tricky.
Does it help?
I don't know necessarily that would help a tremendous amount. I think you're still breathing and that things can pass around. And if your face shields are particularly helpful if someone is really coughing and because it captures all that and actually does do a pretty good job if other people around you are coughing and they don't have source control and it's protecting your eyes, your nose, and your mouth when that happens. But from an aerosolization standpoint, you're eating and carrying on, you're talking, communicating. The face shields typically sit out a little ways from your face a bit. And so that air circulation is going to continue around in that regard. I mean, all of these things could have some impact, I think, if their viral load or exposure that you're having from someone is really low. If there's an event where someone is really quite ill and is coughing and has clear symptoms there, I don't know that in this situation, just having simple face shield on is going to do a whole lot of good.
I'm seeing a lot of people making comments on our YouTube page about percentages and things. Do we know what the current death rate is? And has that changed at all in the last few months?
Well, it has changed. It's changing almost every day. I mean, you can follow the number of cases based upon the number of deaths that are being reported, even without getting into just how deaths are coded and are they solely COVID related or are they COVID associated, how that is, just looking at the raw numbers that are out there. The more cases you log, obviously, as far as just positivity, positive cases, compare that to the number of deaths, it's outpacing it, which is a good thing, obviously. But of course, the more cases you see with any percentage of deaths that are there, whether it's a low number or high number, you're going to see more deaths associated with that. So the CDC is still saying globally that it's around in the United States around 0.6% or so, which is one way to look at that is that it's significantly higher than what influenza would be as sort of our standard that we're holding us up against for what it's worth, even though influenza deaths and mortality rates are really kind of a calculation that aren't based in true numbers. It's more of a guesstimate to some degree. But it is, I think over time, this is kind of what people have predicted is that as you see case numbers go up, like we've always talked about, the vast majority of people, thankfully, survive this and do well long term. And so then the number of deaths, obviously, that increase will be at a different rate, and hopefully the mortality rate continues to decline at a fairly rapid rate when that happens. And then, of course, those are all things that we hope is impacted by the vaccines when they become more readily available as well.
We've got a question here from Jackie on Facebook. Can you ask Dr. Hardeman for some reminders on how we can boost our immune systems naturally?
You bet. The important ones are to take vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D. We're heading into the winter months, and so the time spent in sun exposure is obviously significantly less, and so we tend to all kind of be chronically vitamin D depleted, so taking vitamin D is helpful. There's some evidence that green tea and elderberry are immune boosters that can help zinc have more of an effect from an antiviral perspective as well. So I think the biggies are zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, and then if you're kind of looking for maybe some supplements beyond that, green tea and elderberry are good ones as well.
Question from our YouTube page from Brad. With all the seemingly good news on the vaccine front, has Dr. Scott Hardeman heard any news on therapeutics?
Oh boy, therapeutics, every day is a new day for sure. So the WHO Solidarity study that was out, we touched briefly on it several weeks ago, really tended to poo-poo the use of remdesivir as a treatment in the hospital, but yet it still is kind of widely accepted as the main course of therapy from an antiviral perspective. Dexamethasone, steroid use, there's monoclonal antibodies. They just, I believe they just achieved FDA initial authorization to use as well. That's what was used on the president. It was also used with Dr. Carson as well, and I think they're going to rapidly see those be used in the hospital. It's an issue of trying to get a hold of these. There was an interesting Senate Oversight Committee meeting last week that took place for a number of physicians who've been out there kind of on the front lines treating with outpatient treatments with good old hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and a number of other drugs. And they presented data in front of the committee on how early an outpatient treatment can prevent people from getting sick, getting in the hospital, or becoming hospitalized, and the cascade of events that comes with that. More will come over time, I think, with that, but there's volumes and volumes of research, both pro and against all of these outpatient treatments. But, they seem to be gaining momentum in that regard, that there's other options that may be out there and available for people who are less ill with this. And then, of course, today, the most recent vaccine, which isn't a therapeutic, obviously, but just to comment on that, the third vaccine released its information from AstraZeneca today, which was the Oxford vaccine, which is different than the mRNA vaccines that the two we talked about last week, Moderna and Pfizer, have. This is more of a protein-based vaccine that uses traditional coronavirus, and then they've added on antigens that are similar to the spike protein that we talk about being a way to attach to the virus attached itself. And so then your body can recognize that protein and develop quick antibody responses to it. And they've got some very positive data as well. So I think the vaccines they're moving along very quickly also.
We're speaking with Dr. Scott Hardeman, who's a physician at Gateway ENT and urgent specialist. I think that one thing that becomes difficult for a lot of people, probably globally, but specifically Americans as well, is the context with which we put COVID in. It's not just your physical health. Tony on our YouTube channel says it's usually hard to get through the winter, but with this lame year of COVID, I hope everyone is good mentally. We will get through this. I mean, there are economic impacts, there are business impacts, but there are mental health impacts as well. I'm curious, I know that you're not in mental health specifically, but I'm sure you have thoughts and opinions about all of these things that regular Joes are being asked to do and to give up and to sacrifice, and how this affects our overall mental health. Any thoughts on that and how we can manage that part of our health as well?
Well, it's a huge issue. I think there's plenty of data out to show that the toll, both from a medical perspective and a psychological perspective, in the end, may be equal to that of coronavirus itself. Suicides are up, and depression is up, and substance abuse is up, and domestic abuse is up, et cetera, et cetera. it's an incredibly stressful time for all the things you talk about. Kids are home from school in many places. Economically, many people have either lost their job or are out of work, even in the short term. Those that are working are oftentimes working for reduced pay. It has a huge impact. And then you throw in these holidays and the stuff we talked about of trying to spend time with family and just people desperately want to get back to some degree of normal in their life or try and figure out a path to the closest thing to normal in this. That has a big impact. And I think, you talk about a dark winter. I think people need to try and do the best they can to try and keep their spirits up and again, remember the positive things about this, right? When you think about the fact that yes, people die of this, and yes, it's having a huge impact on our hospitals and the elderly population and those with other health issues. Most people get this and survive and do fine. It's something that, we're going to have for a long time. It's going to be out there and about, but with the vaccine information coming out, that's a positive. And we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and do the best we can and try and find, the positive things to look at.
Dr. Hardeman, Larry from our Facebook page was asking about his wife, saying she used to have some side effects from taking flu shots and has, I think, mostly avoided them. Are those going to be issues with the COVID vaccine?
Well, the mRNA vaccines being new, we don't really have any of those vaccines out there. The technology and concept behind it has been around and has, from a safety perspective, for quite some time. The FDA is reviewing all this information for those, as well as the protein-based vaccine like the Oxford vaccine I just mentioned a moment ago. And part of that is the safety profile. There are clearly going to be side effects with any of these things. I think it seems as if the side effect profiles in those phases of studies have been more localized or relatively minor side effects with that. But, we'll know more about that when all of the data is released. They're applying for emergency use authorization, which isn't full FDA approval, but it's basically preliminary data that the FDA sees, and then they'll grant a nod one direction or the other with this. I'm certain that they're probably going to give a thumbs up just because they're trying to move this along. But we'll see more of that information out there. So they're like with anything, there will be some side effects with it. But if you recall back about 2 months or so ago, a month or so ago, both AstraZeneca and I think one of the other, maybe Pfizer study had to be paused for a week or so because they had a couple of unusual side effects with it. But then, they went back and looked at all their data, and it didn't seem as if there were any other issues with that. So they were outliers, and they continued on the study at that point.
Dr. Hardeman, I have a message here on Facebook from Jeff. Both my college sons had COVID at the end of August. Should they be tested before they come home for break? Shouldn't they be immune for a while?
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of purpose in retesting at that point early on. And I know Katie mentioned that last week as well, just that, I don't want to get this again. Obviously, there is another recent study that popped up this week that said that it seems as if for a solid 6 months or so that antibody levels are circulating, and that puts people less at risk for having a secondary infection of that. I think from a surgical perspective too, if we have patients that have known to have a positive test and have been through and convalesced and recovered completely, we're not routinely testing those patients if it's within a relatively short window of time. So I think it speaks to the fact that really you should be pretty well protected against that. So from August till now, I don't think there's a whole lot of value unless someone had symptoms of just routinely testing someone who's asymptomatic.
Aside from, the obvious requests of business owners to wear masks and whether or not, we could argue till the cows come home as whether or not it's appropriate to wear masks out in public. Everyone's got an opinion. But if you're somebody like Katie or like Jeff's sons who are in college and they had COVID, if you're wearing a mask, are you really just doing it because it's like a nice thing to do to make people feel comfortable? Does that mask for somebody who's had COVID and is within the 6 month period, does that mask do anything for somebody who has already had the virus?
Short answer, no. I think that the CDC does recommend it from a perspective of just being polite and, from not having to answer that question if you're the individual out of why you don't have the mask on, being the pariah socially. But no, I mean, in reality, if you've had it and convalesced and you're out and about wearing a mask, it's kind of a polite thing to do for other people. But, you should be in pretty good shape in theory at this point and not catching something like this again. And obviously, if you've had it and you're not infectious, then you can't really pass it to someone else at that point too. So I think that most businesses and guidelines still recommend wearing a mask even after after you've had it, for the purposes of, sort of just avoiding the social aspect being polite to others, and kind of a courtesy. Mm-hmm.
Well, Dr. Hardeman, we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, no matter how you choose to celebrate it. I would invite you over to my house, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. So we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your loved ones, wherever they might be as well. And we're always grateful for your time here on the show.
I appreciate it. And we have much to be thankful for in this country, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it. So thanks. I've enjoyed the chat today.
Us as well. And that's a great reminder. Thank you so much. I think that there's a lot of people who, you want to, again, the courtesy of wearing the mask. There are a lot of people who are willing to go through the courtesy because they don't want to deal with the hassle. And if you want to go and have a fight in every store you go in and not wear a mask, I'm just not that type of person. Now, if somebody wants to go out of their way to accost you and you're minding your own business and they, things are going to happen, that's going to be, some people are just like that. Courtesy is a good thing, but we also need to have common sense. I am hoping that your Thanksgiving is safe and full of common sense and tons of Thanksgiving. As Dr. Hardeman just said, we have a ton to be thankful for. Let's talk to Stephen Moore when we come back. Don't go away.
We all know how major life events can bring uncertainty. It could be from adding a child to the family, retiring from the workforce, or going through a divorce. It may even be from experiencing the death of a loved one and witnessing firsthand how the lack of clear directives can lead to stress for those left behind. Creating or updating a will or trust is a smart way to plan for life's uncertainties and changes, and to protect your family's unique situation. Tucker Allen can help. Tucker Allen's attorneys can guide you through the process, even if you have no idea where to start. We offer affordable fixed-price fees that are explained in your initial consultation, so you can rest assured there are no surprises down the road. Get started. Visit TuckerAllen.com today to schedule your appointment. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Non-attorney compensated spokesperson, Scott Trout, principal partner, Tucker Allen, 1001 South Kirkwood Road, Suite 130, Kirkwood, Missouri, 63122.
Are you concerned you won't have enough income in retirement to live comfortably? Or do you wonder how long your money will last? Do you also wonder how all the market volatility will affect your retirement plans? This is Thomas Helbig of the Retirement Advisory Group, and we'd like to show you how to protect your retirement savings from market losses and generate more income than most investment options. Call me now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. We'll build your own personalized, structured income plan that will show you exactly the type of retirement you could count on. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of my second edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. This book covers everything I teach in my live educational events. I've been helping retirees and pre-retirees to and through retirement for 33 years. Call me now at 314-993-9494 or online at retirementkey.com. Once again, that's 314-993-9494 or online at retirementkey.com.
Attention St. Louis homeowners. Are you looking to sell your house without all the stress? Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis can buy your house cash and close on your timeline. No commissions, no repairs, no appraisals, no showings, no headache. Call Chris now, 314-782-7000, or go online to chrisbuysHomesSTL.com to get a free no-obligation cash offer for your house. Behind on payments? The tenant stopped paying the rent? The house needs too many repairs? Not a problem. Chris buys houses in any condition and deals with any situation. There's a reason why Chris Buys Homes is the most trusted home buyer in St. Louis. Go online to get your offer today. chrisbuysHomesSTL.com or call 314-782-7000. That's 314-782-7000.
KFTK FM Florissant, K254CR St. Louis, driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, 97.1 FM Talk, a radio.com station.
A different kind of holiday rush. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The lines keep growing at COVID testing sites around the country, even though a negative test is no guarantee of safety, as health and government officials urge people not to travel for the holidays.
It's a painful reality.
We're going to have to do something very different this Thanksgiving, very different throughout the December holidays.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
If you travel, it just greatly intensifies the exposure you could have and the risk you would take. Even if you're getting a test, you're still going to be exposing yourself to the challenges that come with travel.
The TSA reporting over 3 million passengers screened at airports over the weekend, the highest 3-day total since March, though still less than half the same time last year. The New York governor announcing an emergency hospital facility, the kind that opened and wasn't needed in the spring, will be opening now on Staten Island, where hospitalizations recently tripled. President Trump is still claiming election fraud as Georgia prepares for another recount.
Another Georgia recount ordered by President Trump's campaign may not reveal anything new, according to Georgia officials.
I want to remind everybody that Krakens are myths.
Gabriel Sterling with the Georgia Secretary of State's office referring to claims by attorney Sidney Powell of voting irregularities. The Trump campaign is demanding signatures be checked on mail-in ballot envelopes, but
there's no way to track those back to the ballots that were there. So the only remedy is to throw out legal ballots along with potentially illegal ballots if there's even an issue at all. And that's not a remedy that I think any court would sustain.
Evan Brown, Fox News.
President-elect Joe Biden, meantime, announcing new picks for his national security and foreign policy teams, nearly all veterans of the Obama administration. Alejandro Mayorkas would be the first Latino and immigrant to serve as Homeland Security Chief. America is listening to Fox News.
At home with Robert, retired burglar and family man.
Carolers! That's the holiday spirit. Speaking of which, Simply Safe Home Security is having a huge holiday sale. Right now, you can get 40% off a new system and a free camera at simplysafe.com/holiday. That's 40% off the system U.S. News named the best of 2020. Simply Safe protects your whole home 24/7 with monitoring by professionals. The sale ends soon, so go to simplysafe.com/holiday for 40% off and a free camera today.
Dell Technologies just announced their Black Friday sale. They're releasing new doorbusters every weekday, plus up to 50% off cutting-edge tech for your business. There's no better time to upgrade your small business with the latest laptops and desktops with Intel Core processors, plus there's free shipping on everything. Yes, everything. Give Dell Technologies advisors a call. They'll identify the right tech solution for your business. Call 877-ASK-DELL or go to Dell.com/SB Black Friday. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Weather with Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
All is quiet on this Monday afternoon, though still chilly for this time of year. 48 for the high. Call it a mix of clouds and sunshine because tonight we will turn cloudy and cloudy quickly. 40 for the overnight low, but I think we're dry. Tuesday night, not so dry. Cloudy, windy, periods of rain. Could be a thunderstorm, some heavy rain at times. 55 for the high. The rain comes to an end early Wednesday morning. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Hey guys, Glover here. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the DGS.
Stewart's American Mortgage, home of the bagel loan. Reach out to Stewie right now because it is time to get that bagel loan done, as we are going to have a 0.5% fee assessed here with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac soon, starting December 1st. Stewie is the guy to go to. When you want that bagel loan, you're going to get a refi or a home purchase that is not going to charge you fees to go through the process. This makes it a lot more affordable to get that lower monthly rate on your mortgage. It makes it a lot more affordable to get your payment lowered. If you want to, 2020 has been a hard year. If you've got a reason to lower that payment a few $100, maybe you can with a lower rate. Maybe you can with a longer term. Maybe you can keep your mortgage rate where it is right now, or keep your mortgage payment where it is right now and shorten the term. Shave years off the length of your loan. That's going to save you a boatload money in interest payments. 314-324-4440. Call Stewie. He's my friend. He helped me a year ago, and I know he can do the same for you. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Hey there, it's Billy with Inside Out Tax. I used to work for the IRS, and I help people every day get to the bottom of their tax problems. What most folks don't know is the IRS can show up at your door. These are field collection employees called revenue officers. If you've recently been visited by someone at the IRS, then give me a call to set up a free 30-minute consultation at 636-495-5700, or reach out to us through our website at insideouttax.com.
The med spa at the Institute of Natural Health understands how difficult it is to maintain healthy skin and how much this can affect someone's life. With the right combination of treatments and products, they can help you keep your skin looking healthy and more youthful, while also reducing and preventing damage. Take your first step towards healthy skin at the med spa at the Institute of Natural Health. Visit them at inhstl.com or call to schedule at 314-293-8123. That's 314-293-8123.
Have you struggled with your weight loss? Have you tried? You think you've tried everything and nothing has really worked for you? Well, I want to ask you to reach out to Slim 180 and see if they can do the trick, because they did for me. I lost over 40 pounds on the medically supervised HCG rapid weight loss program, and I lost it very fast. You can too. Call them to set up an appointment. 888-754-6111. 888-754-6111. Slim 180 has 6 locations conveniently located for you in O'Fallon, St. Charles, Sunset Hills, Creve Coeur, Chesterfield, and in Florissant, but they're also meeting with you one-on-one remotely. So if you don't want to go out, if you're concerned about that, they are taking all the necessary precautions to make you feel comfortable, but to still get you on your journey to losing that weight. They have a traditional program as well as their medically supervised HCG rapid weight loss program and a new quick start lipoline program. And you can reach out now to get the process started. You will regret not calling. You will only lose the weight that you've been working so hard for so long to lose when you make this phone call. 888-754-6111, online at myslim180.com.
You can listen to 97.1 on the radio or online with no big tech censorship. Just download the app, stream it online, or say it to your smart speaker. 97.1 FM Talk. Free and fair. The Annie Frey Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
It's ridiculous. In Ohio, you now have to be in your home by 10 o'clock. In Pennsylvania, when you're in your home, you have to wear a mask. And in Vermont, when you're in your home, you don't have to wear a mask because you're not allowed to have friends over to your home. I mean, this has gotten so ridiculous. And we forget this is America. I mean, I go back to when the first lockdown happened. The Attorney General of the United States sent out a memo to all U.S. attorneys. This is back in April of this year. Sent out a memo to all U.S. attorneys. A lot of important things he discussed in there. But near the end of the memo, he had a great line. He said, the Constitution is not suspended during a crisis. And amen to that. And we need to remember that. In fact, I would argue the Constitution is most important when you're dealing with something unique, something big like this. So this is as wrong as it gets.
Yeah. Wise words from Jim Jordan there regarding these shutdowns. How long can we sustain shutdowns? You know, we've heard we can't let the cure be worse than the disease itself. At what point does that happen? Have we already gotten to that point yet? I mean, we look at an economy that this president has built back with his administration throughout the course of this pandemic, and there's a lot of bright spots to shine that spotlight on. But if we shut everything down again, especially going into what should be the buying season, what's that going to mean for our overall economy, especially in the event that Joe Biden becomes the president in January? Let's ask our guest, Stephen Moore, who is with us. He is the senior economic contributor at Freedom Works and a visiting fellow at Heritage Foundation. Stephen, always great to have you back. Happy Thanksgiving week.
Hi, Annie.
These shutdowns are scary for a lot of people, business owners especially. Can we sustain much more of this? Are we strong enough? Is the economy strong enough to handle it?
Well, by the way, happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
it's very frustrating because we've had this pandemic now for 9 months, and we continue to learn as we go along about the severity of this and the ways of combating it. But the one thing we know for sure is that lockdowns don't have any impact virtually whatsoever. That's not to say people should act irresponsibly. They should, take care to not go into crowded places and not to, and people should social distance and when appropriate, wearing a mask. But the idea that locking down businesses and keeping employees and kids home is destructive. It doesn't reduce deaths, and it does a lot of damage to both our incomes and our psychology. And you've seen increases in suicides and increasing in depression and increasing in social isolation of people. And I think of my, 2 teenagers who really are suffering from this, Annie. They haven't seen their friends in 9 months for the most part. So this is a really a bad decision by mostly it's Democratic governors. It's Democratic governors and Democratic mayors who are shutting everything down.
Stephen, this week is Black Friday. We've been shopping a little bit ahead of time, as we usually do. But how are retail outlets gearing up for this year? Are they expecting it to be a down year, or is it going to be the same because of online shopping?
Well, first of all, this is in my opinion, this is the greatest economic recovery in American history, what we're seeing right now. I mean, the American economy was totally flattened at the first half of the year. We saw huge reductions in our GDP. It fell by 31% in the second quarter. I mean, it was about the worst quarter in American history. And now we got the economy back. It's not to full health, but it's 90% of the way there. We've got something like 16 million additional people have moved into jobs. We've, have unemployment rate down below 7% in 5 months. It took Obama, 5 years to get the unemployment rate down to below 7%. So the good news is here that the economy is pretty healthy. I mean, it obviously needs some more help, but it's doing pretty well given what we've been through. And retailers, a lot of them are surviving. I mean, it's been tough. It's been really brutally tough. And some of them have gone bankrupt. Some of the big chains are going bankrupt. And I think a lot of shopping centers around the country will probably go bankrupt. But you do see a lot of the brick and mortar stores that are finding ways to stay open. And what's frustrating to me, guys, is that, it's like if you're in a boxing match and you get hit on the nose, and I've been hit on the nose many times in the ring, you fall to the floor and you're a little drowsy, you get up and then you get back in the match. And it's usually that second punch that, knocks you out. Yep. And so these retailers have done a great job, and a lot of businesses taking the first punch, but I don't know if they can take a second punch, Annie. I think that could be fatal for a lot of these businessmen and women. We got 30 million small businesses in this country, and they employ 60% of the American people. We need to protect our small businesses and our workers.
Especially when a lot of the online shopping, I mean, unless you're making an effort, you're buying stuff from China, you're buying stuff off Amazon, you're not shopping. It's not like the brick and mortar small businesses all have the online apparatus to absorb this kind of a situation.
Annie, the thing that is about the economy that's really interesting, though, is retail obviously has suffered. So is things like movie theaters and restaurants, although they're coming back too. But, you look at these sectors of the economy, construction's doing really well. Manufacturing's coming back. You saw the numbers on housing sales. They were like the top, something like the highest in 20 years. People are moving out of cities because of the violence and the looting and also the problems of lockdowns, and they're moving into suburbs. So there's a lot of signs of health in this economy. If Biden is president, and I still think there are votes to be counted, he's going to be inheriting a very strong economy, especially when we get the vaccine. And by the way, kudos to Donald Trump and our free enterprise system for coming up with a vaccine in 9 months. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is stunning. Speaking of Joe Biden, if he takes over, he's got a plan to help what I hear a lot of people say is a stimulus. I'm curious what your thoughts on it. Canceling student loan debt, costing us about $1.7 trillion for all those people who are, carrying loans from their very overpriced degrees, just wiping it away and making it go away. Is that a stimulus of any kind?
Well, first of all, I do agree with Biden, and that the biggest scam in America is these outrageous tuitions the colleges are charging families. It's totally outrageous. Every university that gets federal money should be required to cut their tuition in half. I mean, these are the most flabby, inefficient institutions in the country, if not the world. And so, it is outrageous that some kids are graduating from college with 50, 75, some cases $100,000 of debt. But the taxpayer shouldn't be responsible for that. By the way, I know, I was able to, my parents paid for my college education, so I was lucky. But, I had a lot of friends who paid for they paid for the college themselves. They took out the loans. They sacrificed. They paid back the loans. Now they have to pay higher taxes for people who didn't pay back the loans. How's that fair?
Yeah, it's unbelievable too, especially to think about the people who are maybe wrapping up their final payments right now, or we've had a year where they told you didn't have to pay them anymore. Why would you pay anything? You're not going to get anything back for that other people are going to get back. I mean, it seems to me like it would be disastrous overall as a policy.
So I have a solution to this problem, by the way. Are you ready?
Yes.
We've got 100 major universities in the United States that have massive endowments of well over $100 million. Some of them have $1 billion, $10 billion, $100 billion endowments. Why don't we just have the schools use those endowments to pay off the student debt? Why should taxpayers be on the hook for that?
Yeah, they shouldn't be. Absolutely shouldn't be. That's a great.
We're on the phone with Stephen Moore, senior economic contributor at Freedom Works and visiting fellow at Heritage. Stephen, I wanted to ask you, Trump, he's got great economic policies, but he also is just such a good cheerleader for the economy. How important do you think it is to have his voice in there in this economic recovery?
That's another great question. You're right.
Watch it.
But no, it's a really important point you're making, because he is. It's not just that he's a cheerleader; he's a champion. Right? He's a champion for our businesses. And, listen to what the left says. Businesses are evil. Profits are evil. The corporations are evil. Well, who wants to invest in that kind of thing? Trump didn't say companies are evil. He said, we need our companies. We want our companies to be number one. We want to outcompete China and Japan and Germany and France and Mexico. He put American businesses first, because that's the way you put American workers and American people first, right? And so I do think a lot of this rhetoric that comes out of the left of hate business, hate small businessmen and women, hate corporations, hate shareholders, that's just not a healthy thing. And that only plays into the hands of the Chinese and the Japanese and the Germans and other countries who want to knock off us and so I think you saw this, by the way, right when Trump was elected in 2016. Small business confidence went through the roof. It went through the roof. Never has it gone up so much, because small business said, hey, we got a guy in the White House who isn't going to hit us over the head with a billy club every time we make a profit.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm just so curious as to how Joe Biden, some of these nominations or some of these people he's put out there for some of the positions in his administration. John Kerry is definitely one of them. It seems as though climate change is going to be at the top tier of their interest level. Is that going to cost the American people money they don't have?
You better believe it. I mean, that's the thing I'm most worried about, frankly, because he's not going to get his $4 trillion tax increase through. I just don't see that happening. But you're right. They are totally obsessed with climate change. I mean, here we are in a country that's been, in fact, I wrote my column on this week, and the lead of the piece was saying, here we are in the middle of a pandemic, with hundreds of thousands of people, 250,000 people have died. We've had riots in the streets in our cities. They're all boarded up. They're shut down. We've got, still got 10 million unemployed people. And the left's highest priority is climate change. I mean, and by the way, it didn't even show up in the exit polls when people were asked, why did you vote one way or the other? What are the issues you're concerned about? It was jobs. It was the economy. It was the schools. It was the healthcare system. It was public safety. Climate change wasn't even on the list. So, the politicians and the elite are so out of touch with the American people. They're going to cost the American, workforce potentially 10 million jobs to pay owed to this climate change issue that is, why is it our responsibility? We've reduced our carbon emissions. We use natural gas, which is a great fuel. I mean, I get so frustrated with this issue because we're not the polluter. China is, India is, Indonesia is. Why are we punishing our own country?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Stephen Moore, we're going to let you go. We appreciate your insight here all the time. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, however you're choosing to celebrate it.
Well,
And,
don't tell anybody, but we're going to have about 12 people over at our house. So,
man, there are
keep that
states where
secret,
you
okay?
can't do that.
Because Andrew Cuomo might be looking in our window to see if we have more than 8 people at the table,
Just wear spacesuits, masks and spacesuits. You'll be fine.
All right. Have a great one, guys.
You too. Bye-bye. Stephen Moore, he is the senior economic contributor at FreedomWorks. Also, he is a visiting fellow at Heritage Foundation. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get straight to Mark Lauder. He is the Trump 2020 Director of Strategic Communications. We're going to ask him about these lawsuits, election results, fraud. Is it time for the Trump campaign to start thinking about conceding, or is there still a lot of fight left to have? I'm going to ask Mark Lauder that question when we return, and ask you to join us on our Facebook Live, the Annie Frey Show Facebook page, or the Annie Frey YouTube page. You can watch and comment along with us as well as we go through the show here today. Stick around. We'll be back with Mark Lauder in just a minute.
You need to know the situation's getting older now. The more you talk, the less
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Where should you stay or should you go? Well, if you don't have the answer, why you still standing here? Hey, 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 just walk away.
Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, keeping in the most popular ammo and firearms on today's market. Can't find what you want? Have us order it. Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law, available at 636-946-7899 to take your phone call and set you up for a free consultation for your estate planning. If you don't have any estate planning done, you need to make that phone call, and you need to get it started now. Why not do it with that free consult with Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law? 636-946-7899. They are committed to serving those who are in need of their services, and they have been doing so since 1974. If you have not made the plan for what's going to happen when you are no longer here, your significant other is no longer here, if you have children and you haven't, especially if you have dependents and you haven't had that will and testament put together, you need Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law to help you through this process. They are very experienced. They know their way around the law to make sure that all of your needs are met and that you are squared away. If you haven't had anything done on your estate plan looked at in the last 3 years, call them as well. 636-946-7899, online at beckelderlaw.com.
Save on thousands of items during Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2020. From framing and roofing nailers to finish and brad nailers, Menards has a large selection of Metabo HPT air nailers to choose from. Right now, all Metabo HPT air nailers are 11% off. It's Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2020. Savings are good until November 25th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Del Walmsley here. The first thing you're going to have to learn is until you stop expecting the politicians or anyone else to change your life isn't going to change. The only person who can change your life is you, but you need to know how. Listen to my show, The Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins.
You could be on your way to a better lifestyle and experience the life of your dreams. Tune in to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. Weeknights at 7, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for a pivotal role at her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology identifies the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Monica did, and that's how she found Lamont, her new project superintendent.
The job is so perfect for me. I had a career breakthrough. I would have never found this job if it wasn't for ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Hyundai Thanksgiving sales event is going on now, so that means it's time to feast on the savings. What's more, you'll get the peace of mind that comes with America's best warranty and complimentary maintenance. Hurry in to the Hyundai Thanksgiving sales event before these great deals get gobbled up.
Lease the 2021 Tucson for $209 a month for 36 months with $26.99 due at signing, or get 0% APR for 72 months. See your local St. Louis Hyundai dealer today. Offers end January 4th, 2021. Call 224-661-0068 for details.
The hottest trend in flooring is waterproof Cortec vinyl plank. It's perfect for every room in the house.
Ambassador Midwest Floor made a special purchase on Cortec's most popular colors and styles. In stock now and ready for pickup or delivery.
And Cortec is easy to install. Nearly anyone can do it yourself.
Large 7-inch wide planks, normally $6.99 a square foot, are now nearly
That's one heck of a deal.
This month at all 4 Ambassador Midwest Floor showrooms.
Experience more at Ambassador
Midwest Floor.
The DGS, Hardee's, and Operation Food Search together again. 2020 has seen a rise in food shortages for St. Louis area families. You can help by donating at Area Hardee's and get your DGS 2020 sticker while supplies last.
Dear, I fear we're facing a problem. You love me no longer. I know, and maybe there is nothing that I can do to make you do. Mama tells me I shouldn't bother, that I ought to stick to another man, a man that's sure.
You know, I think it's very hard for people to rationalize that a guy like Joe Biden, who could barely scrape together 12 people to go to a campaign event for him, you know, even a couple of weeks ago, suddenly somehow got around 80 million votes.
Yeah, you know, I think that the one factor that could possibly explain that to me is the emphasis with which people hate Donald Trump. I don't know that, you know, there's a constant drumbeat about how much people don't support Joe Biden, but we've been saying this on the show. I've been saying this on the show consistently for months and months. Donald Trump is at the epicenter of how the world turns. Everything that the media reacts to is Donald Trump. What did Donald Trump do? How does he think about something? That's what they react to. The story is always centered around Donald Trump. And if he had enough opposition out there, was there enough opposition to mount that many votes for Joe Biden? I understand why Laura Trump says that. I think it's hard to understand as well, especially when you've got your supporters who are coming out to your events and they're all sitting in like predetermined circles, and Donald Trump's got massive crowds full of people. I think that the visual is hard to justify and rectify with the results that we've gotten. Well, let's get to our guest. Mark Lauder is the Trump 2020 Director of Strategic Communications, and he is watching all of these stories, I'm sure, unfold as we are, minute by minute. Mark, thank you for coming on the show today. Happy Thanksgiving week. I want to ask you just straight up, are we getting closer to the point which Donald Trump is going to be ready to concede, or is there still a very good, honest fight out there in the court systems that could see this going the way that nobody in the media is reporting that it could go?
Well, I think we're getting to the point where the evidence needs to be presented, and not just allegations, but actual documented evidence. And our legal team has more than 500 sworn affidavits under the penalty of perjury. There are thousands of allegations that have been submitted to our fraud hotline. But eventually, you've got to actually be able to prove it, not just allegations, but in a court of law. And I think we are getting to that point here fairly quickly. But to your earlier point, Annie, the one thing I think we need to stress is the standard we use on investigating voter fraud should not be whether it overturns the outcome of an election. That should not be our standard, because anytime you get allegations of fraud, allegations of impropriety, where you have multiple states that are not following their own safeguards, their own policies, locking Republican poll watchers out, all of those things need to be investigated, because they may or may not have changed the outcome of this previous election, but it doesn't mean they won't change the next one. Whether it's at the national level, the local level, the integrity of the vote has to be paramount, and it needs to be investigated, not just brushed under the rug because, well, it's not likely to change Joe Biden's lead enough but Donald Trump may win a state.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think with the majority of Americans, and I see this on both sides of the aisle, they just want to know what happened. They want to know what's real. And it's very hard for Americans, voters, to turn on their local news channel or their cable news channel and find somebody who's just saying what actually is happening. Like we see people say, Trump campaign removes lawsuit. Well, it turns out that they'll pull a lawsuit back because what they needed to have happen ended up happening. They didn't need to continue the lawsuit there, but it's reported against Trump. I think the frustration that so many Americans have that supported the president or knew that Joe Biden would be, a potential disaster for the United States of America is it's very hard to find real factual information. Do you have any advice for people who are trying to follow this and get the real stuff of where they should go or what they should be looking at?
Well, I think first and foremost, you need to be patient because this is not on a timeline for the news media or for tomorrow morning's headlines. It's actually in a timeline that varies state to state. Each state has differing procedures in terms of how you might protest an election or demand a recount and what thresholds have to be met for that. So all of those states are different. And so obviously our team is working in each state on the ground within their timeline. But secondly, just get a bunch of different information from a bunch of different sources, because you do have a mainstream media that is out there basically just trying to say this thing is over with and their preferred candidate won, so we should ignore everything. And there are some conservative outlets that are going with more conspiracy theory than they are reality. I get it. There are a lot of things that don't add up. It's very hard for me, and I've been doing this for a very long time, to look at an electorate where the House Republicans were supposed to lose 10 to 12 seats, but they gained 12 to 13 seats, or where we were supposed to lose a bunch of state legislatures and we didn't lose any state legislatures. It's hard for me to see in that electorate that those same people were saying, yes, I want a Republican congressperson. Yes, I want a Republican state lawmaker, but no, I don't want Donald Trump. Now, did it happen? We'll find out. But there's a lot of things that just don't add up out there that need to be figured out. And that's what this process is designed to do.
Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign, Mark Lauder, on the phone with us. A lot of these allegations that we're hearing from Sidney Powell and from Rudy Giuliani, they're big. They're jaw-dropping things. But it feels as if, and seems as if, we haven't seen the lawsuits reflect those big things yet. Is that all still coming?
It is still coming, and that's where we are right now. I mean, you heard the news conference last week where the president's attorneys were saying that this was our opening argument. The evidence is still yet to come, because you don't put your evidence out there in your opening arguments. You basically say this is what the evidence is going to show, but we still have to show the evidence. And until we get to that point, you're not going to see the specific allegations. And so if the legal team has the case that they say they do, then it's getting very close to the time. And I think you'll start to see that come out here in the next week or so, just because the way the Electoral College works is that they have to vote by December 14th. Mm-hmm. So we're now running up to the next 2 to 3 weeks before this thing has to be decided and has to be voted on by the electors in each individual state, obviously, that sends their totals and elects the next president of the United States.
Mark, I'd like to ask you about the president's coattails. And it's going to be ironic if assuming that you believe his coattails were as strong as and you see it the way we see it here, which is this president helped so many Republicans in almost a historical way over the finish line. And it wasn't enough to get himself over the finish line, at least as it appears right now in this point in time. But what did the Trump effect have on these House seat pickups? Nancy Pelosi's out there saying she's taking credit for retaining a majority. I mean, it's like an alternate reality that she's living in right now. But we didn't lose the Senate in great capacity. There was a great red wave save the presidential election. What kind of coattails did President Trump have in this election this year?
I think his coattails were tremendous, and it wasn't just for this election, and it's something that we can build on moving forward. I mean, as I mentioned, we were expected, if you listen to the pollsters and the pundits, expected to lose another 12 to 15 seats in the House of Representatives, where we also already had a very bad minority status, but we closed the gap to the point where now we're going to be within 3 or 4 seats of the majority. We are going to hold on to the Senate. I'm very confident how Georgia is going to come out. We've got to still work. We've got to make sure that everyone gets out there and votes. Donate if you can. But we will hold the Senate, almost pick up the majority in the House. And then when you look at the state legislatures, obviously, those stayed Republican as well. And when you look at the actual data, the initial exit polling that we've seen, we have a president who had historic support among modern presidents with Black Americans. He doubled his support among Black women. He had historic support from Hispanic and Latino and Asian women. We've seen tremendous gains with blue-collar workers. The challenge for our party going forward is keeping those gains and then building on them, not resting on our laurels, but actually growing them even further with policy, with results. And if it's as the opposition, the loyal opposition to Joe Biden, then so be it. But if we can continue to do it, then we are setting ourselves up to be a much stronger party in the years to come, not just the next election or two.
What has this president done that has transformed this Republican Party? I mean, it seems as though you're allowed to free think in the Republican Party. You have a checklist of what you have to agree to if you're going to be in the Democratic Party in 2020. What has this president done to the platform for the GOP that moves it forward in such a strong direction? What are those policies that he stood for?
Well, I think first and foremost, he proved that the Democrats are really nothing but empty rhetoric, where the president is all about results. Whether it was historic economic gains for those at the lowest levels on the income ladder, whether it was historic gains for minority groups, whether it was free and fair trade deals that actually put American workers first, we've seen it for decades. The Democrats love to talk about those issues. They never just get around doing anything about solving them, because they want to use it for the next election. And what we saw was, say, the income gap, the wage gap, closed at a record rate under President Trump. And so he proved the Democrats to be nothing but empty rhetoric, all about the talking points and not actually about solutions. And then this president delivered on those solutions. And I think you got more and more Americans waking up and saying, enough, I'm not going to be taken advantage of anymore. Whether I'm a labor union member, a member of a community of color, I'm not going to just buy the Democrats' empty lies any longer. This is a guy who actually said he was going to do something about my issues and then got it done.
Mark Lauder is on the phone with his Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. Mark, we've seen the president tweeting a lot about these lawsuits. Haven't heard him talk as much from press conferences and things about it. How involved in this whole process is he with the two main lawyers, there's Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani? Is he, privy to all the information that's coming from them?
I want to be very upfront with you. So my last day with the campaign was last Sunday. A little over a week ago. But, prior to that, I can tell you the president was very involved, getting regular briefings, not only from his legal team, but also from the campaign leadership team about where things stood, where they needed to go. And as you see that reflected in his social media, he's, letting the information out there so the American people can see the truth. But ultimately, we're going to continue to move forward. It's going to fall into the courts now. And so that's where this is going to play out. But the one thing I guess I could say again is people need to be patient. This is not built for timelines on social media, not built for mainstream media, headlines and narratives. It's going to have to play out on the timeline of the courts and the individual states. And I think we're going to see that process really pick up here in the next week or two.
Mark Lauder, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the resolution of this. You said something that I think everybody needs to remember, and that's to be patient. These things take time, and we still have some time for them to take. So we appreciate your thoughts on this issue, and we look forward to speaking to you again sometime.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, Annie.
Thank you, Mark. He is the Director of Strategic Communication for the Trump 2020 campaign and joining us here today. It's been hard to get a hold of anybody in the campaign, so we were grateful that he gave us some time and some thoughts on the matter. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's see here. We can use some phone calls. 314-241-9797. 314-241-9797. How are you feeling right now about the direction that this is headed? He said something else there that I think is important. He talked about some of the right-wing media outlets that are also picking up conspiracy theories. I think that that's important to highlight because that's not going to do anybody any good anyway. So if you get so invested emotionally in some of these scenarios that could exist, I mean, you could talk forever about how it could go this way or how it could go that way or whatever. We're going to see in a few weeks what this manifests into. And then one way or the other, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to move forward. The truth is, as Mark said there, Donald Trump has built an incredibly strong Republican Party with really great policies, with really great ideals, and with a lot of success. And that success can be continued to be built on, even if Joe Biden does become, in fact, the president. 314-241-9797. Let's talk about it when we come back.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Talk lines are open now at 314-241-9797 or 866-455-9797.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. In addition to heating and cooling, Air Comfort Service also offers indoor air quality, water heater, and AeroSeal duct sealing services. Get in your comfort zone with aircomfortservice.com. Right now, you can partake in the huge Black Friday sales event happening at Cassens Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Go online to cassenscan.com and see what they have all going there. But let me just, briefly run you through it right now. On Chryslers and on Rams, huge savings all November for the Black Friday sales event. On Jeeps, $4,000 cash allowance on Jeep Cherokee 2021 Latitude Lux 4x4, Jeep 2021 Jeep Safari 0% for 36 months. These are just some of the awesome deals on wonderful vehicles that you're going to get from the best customer service staff around. Cassens has an amazing, experienced staff that knows the vehicles and also knows how to pair you with what you want with the budget that you have. Trust me, I've been there multiple times to purchase multiple vehicles, and they have helped me each and every single time. Check out the Black Friday sales event happening right now at Cassens. Just get on 270 and head north on 159. Cassens is right there, a couple miles on the left, and you can see them online right now as well. CassensCan.com.
Has this ever happened to you? I bought football tickets for my husband's birthday, and now I'm in a football bubble. All I see online are articles and ads about football. I hate the feeling of being manipulated. I downloaded DuckDuckGo, and I saw a difference right away. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers all for free. It's that simple. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
What's holding you back from solving your tax problems? If it's cost, know that the longer you wait, the more expensive it'll be. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm in St. Louis. Tax resolution doesn't have to be expensive, and waiting year after year to resolve your tax problems can be extremely costly. Interest and penalties on your tax bill won't stop until you take control. So take the first step now and hire a tax resolution attorney to help you. Call me, Lance Drury. I'll tell you in advance an affordable fee which includes costs and expenses that works for your business and family. Your first visit to the Lance Drury Law Firm is free and confidential, so you have nothing to lose. But the longer you wait, the more interest and penalties you'll pay. Call me today. Remember, if you have IRS issues, you have legal issues. You need an attorney. You need us, the Lance Drury Law Firm. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to Lance, DRURY law.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Napa know-how. At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa tool bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how. At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
Dell Technologies just announced their Black Friday sale. They're releasing new doorbusters every weekday, plus up to 50% off cutting-edge tech for your business. There's no better time to upgrade your small business with the latest laptops and desktops with Intel Core processors, plus there's free shipping on everything. Yes, everything. Give Dell Technologies advisors a call. They'll identify the right tech solution for your business. Call 877-ASK-DELL or go to Dell.com/SB Black Friday. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Hey friends, it's Annie, and I've been in touch with the team here at Lakeside Renovation and Design. As an essential business, these guys continue to work and ensure their homeowners are being taken care of. They do all of this while practicing safe social distancing and following all of the proper guidelines to keep a safe work environment. Many people are concerned with inviting others into their home at this time, which is why they've begun virtual appointments. If you need new siding, new windows, or even decks, porches, or screened rooms, they can get measurements from the outside and put a bid together just for you while keeping themselves and your family safe. 636-978-5000, lakesidерenovationanddesign.com.
The Dave Glover Show.
It's all those people that were in line with me at QT this morning, getting a coffee, getting a donut. That's America. It's not Nancy Pelosi.
Weekdays at 3 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. I don't know how people are handling the lockdown so far in Pennsylvania, but things might start to get real. Pennsylvania Health Secretary Dr. Rachel Levine has issued a one-night suspension of alcohol sales starting at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, November 25th, which is the night before the Thanksgiving holiday. It's supposed to be the biggest party night of the year.
It is.
And I was a time in my life where I partaken in that event. It was a wild country excursion for myself, and they were open till 3 and you partied hardy. But there's a lot of alcohol that gets sold at that time. So I don't know how you're going to control crowds. I guess you just don't allow them to buy the liquor. So there's going to be a lot of bootlegging, I'm sure. A lot of people in line. I wonder if it's like at Disney World when you get in a line when it's closing time. If the park closes at 9 p.m. and you get in line, even if the line is 90 minutes long to ride the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, if you get in line at 9 p.m., you get to ride the ride.
Dang.
And so they stay open until the line is complete. They'll mark the end of the line at 9 p.m. But as long as you get in that line. So I wonder if in Pennsylvania, if the booze line will work the same. So as long as you're in line by 5 p.m., I wonder if you'll be able to get your Fireball or whatever it is.
So. I don't understand how that even works. I mean, how our boss said this today, Becky, she's awesome. She said her favorite side dish for Thanksgiving is wine. And I have to agree that that's probably mine as well. I don't understand how, now we have the lockdowns and everything, but pre-COVID, like you said, Annie, Wednesday was the time to party.
Oh, yeah.
And then you kind of hold over and you drink a little bit more on Thanksgiving so you don't have a hangover.
You drink a little bit more.
Yeah, me. I should
That's
say
the plan.
Strategy.
So everybody is asking, Katie, everybody wants to know every day. They ask the same question. Katie, your taste and smell, you had COVID, you were diagnosed, or let's see, your first symptom was loss of taste and smell. 3 weeks ago?
Yep. It's going on for a month, will be this Wednesday.
A month this Wednesday. The first sign and one of the only symptoms you had was loss of taste and smell. You woke up and it was gone.
Yep.
Tested positive that day. Quarantine for 2 weeks. And you have gotten a negative test since then. But the taste and smell, as last we heard, was still absent. What is the taste and smell update almost a month into this?
So I went to my parents' house on Saturday. That's the first time I've seen them in a month, or maybe even well over a month. And I put my nose in one of their scented candles. It was a cinnamon and pumpkin candle. And I could smell a slight whiff of the
Smelled
cinnamon.
like strawberries.
And it smelled like watermelon. I could smell a tiny whiff of the cinnamon. So I think I've regained a little bit of the taste and smell, and I would say 15% to maybe 20%.
Can you taste those Cheez-Its in that box that's sitting next to you?
I can taste the salt.
You can taste the salt.
But,
is that new?
That's new. Yep.
Wow.
So
what are you
that's good.
doing? What are you doing in the meantime to Operation Warp Speed this so that on Thanksgiving you can taste your mashed taters?
This is, I don't know if I heard this from Dr. Hardeman or if I read about it during my 14 days of quarantine because there's nothing else to do. But I've been chugging orange juice, like lots of vitamin D, lots of vitamin C, trying to get all like those two specific vitamins in my body to try to get this going. And I've been doing that since I got diagnosed. And so I'm going to give a little bit of the credit to the orange juice.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's helping me regain some of this. But there's a lot of people that I know that got their taste and smell back 5 days after they lost it, a week after they lost it. I feel like I might be one of the people that it's just going to take a while to fully get that back.
A lot of people suggesting that maybe you need to partake in some wasabi.
Mm-hmm.
That might do the trick.
Mm-hmm.
What about your husband, David? Because he was a presumptive positive, correct?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. And they told him he doesn't have to get tested because he was with me on the 2 days that I was highly contagious. So they're like, yeah, just basically have him quarantine with you. We're just going to presume that it was a positive. But David's fine. David's totally fine.
Are you mad at him? Because
I am like, because everything that we eat or the thing too that I don't trust him in this aspect. I do trust him. I love you, David, but he's also sneaky because I'm like, does the house smell? Do our clothes smell? What about Marty? Does he smell? And I think David's just like, yeah, everything's fine because he doesn't want to do the chores.
So you're going to get your smell back and it's going to knock you on the floor.
I'm afraid.
Have you cleaned? Has he cleaned?
I'm like, David, what about the pile of clothes on the ground? Are those clean or dirty? Do they smell? What's going on? And David's like, we don't know. And you can't catch me. I'm like, great.
But is he asking you every day, okay, how's your smell?
Yes.
Because if he does, then you know that he's gauging you to know when he has to clean.
Yes.
I don't think that is an if A then B scenario. That
it has to be.
If he is asking as a loving husband if she has her taste or smell back, that automatically means he's been plotting a dirty house around.
I will say, I don't think he's plotting, but I think he took great advantage of the fact that I can't smell anything. He's like, let's let Marty be stinky for a while.
So we had a meeting earlier today and everybody was going around talking about their favorite side dishes or favorite Thanksgiving dish. I didn't hear anyone say turkey. I said, when we did that, Ask Me Anything or Real or Fake News or something about it, I said I could eat Thanksgiving without any turkey. Like you wouldn't even have to make the turkey. In fact, I would be okay if there was no turkey. My favorite is sweet potatoes, and my grandma made the best sweet potatoes. And one of the things that I got from her is the skillet that she made them in. She would have the peel and then have the sweet potatoes, line the whole skillet with them. And then, I don't know that I can, in good conscience, put the amount of butter and brown sugar on those sweet potatoes that I need to make them taste like my grandmother's. But that's the joy of eating your grandmother's food. You don't know what went into it. You just know it tastes delicious. And so I'm going to be making those sweet potatoes this Thanksgiving. Katie, is your favorite mashed potatoes? I don't want to.
It is that. That nobody said mashed potatoes and gravy either at that meeting. I'm like,
one person, there was somebody who early on said mashed potatoes, but she said no gravy. She said don't put the gravy on it.
What?
Yeah.
I love mashed potatoes. That is probably my favorite side dish. And I like them with a little bit of chunk. You know, not totally
potato.
Smooth. Yeah.
You like real potato.
Yeah. I want them to be mashed, a little bit of chunk on them.
What about you, Ryan?
You know what? I'm going to miss this year because my part of the family never makes it. I think we've talked about this. The like 5 or 6 layer Jell-O. It's different flavors, and then they put like a cream cheese in between it. When I was young, I was like, whoa, that looks disgusting. But the more I ate it, it is now my favorite thing, and I'm going to miss it.
It usually goes the other way around, that when you're young, you don't care about it. You think that looks pretty, and therefore it should be
true
edible. And then you get older, and you're like, oh, not so much.
Well, it's odd. The cream cheese makes it look really messy and gummy and gunky. And so it made
You're
it look
really
gross.
selling the product. You're
Yeah.
selling it.
Hey, I'm telling you, this is the way it
That is
happened.
the truth.
But now it's great.
What about desserts, Katie? The best Thanksgiving dessert?
Pumpkin pie.
Just straight pumpkin pie
all the way.
Whipped cream or ice cream?
A little bit of ice cream, vanilla ice cream on top. Oh, nothing is better. Love it.
Whipped cream too, or just ice cream?
I could do whipped cream and ice cream both, but usually it's just vanilla ice cream.
I know people who think that ice cream on pumpkin pie is weird.
What? It's a great combination. Oh my God. Love it.
What about you, Ryan?
Lemon
Jell-O?
meringue pie. Lemon meringue pie. It has to be. And Katie said that she doesn't like meringue, which is crazy. I don't get how you could not like meringue. It's the best part of any pie.
I don't.
Even non-meringue pies.
Wait, Anna, you like lemon
pumpkin
meringue
pie.
too, don't you?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I just, maybe I haven't had a good one. My family really doesn't make lemon meringue pies. And so maybe I
certainly
just
have never
had
considered lemon meringue for Thanksgiving. That's more of an Eastery type of a dessert in my family. But like we'll do coconut cream or apple a lot in the fall, like Thanksgiving, a lot of apple pies that are made. I don't know. I'm making desserts. I'm making cake pops, and so like I'll have an array of cake pops, and then like a straight up Libby's pumpkin pie. That's easy and expected. And then my husband goes, because he doesn't like pumpkin pie. He goes, "You're gonna make a dessert for me?" And I go, "Well, what do you like?" If I make a dessert for every person, we're gonna have so many desserts left over, and we're gonna have half-eaten pies for Christmas that come out of the freezer. So I don't know.
Make one for Jared. Make one for Jared.
He's gonna be making the majority of the Thanksgiving meal here at our house, in lieu of my grandma no longer being with us. So we've got a turkey. It's thawing. It takes 4 days to thaw a turkey. What? And you got to put it in the fridge and let it thaw for 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
So he's shown me the menu. Like there are times where we will be like going on vacation or planning something big. And I'm like, we need to sit down and focus on this. And I can't get his attention, but he has like a map drawn out for Thanksgiving dinner. He's very excited about
love it.
This past weekend, I said, my parents came over. And I said, "Do you want to order out or cook?" He's like, "Oh, I'll cook." And I'm like, "You really want to cook when you're going to cook a big meal on Thursday?" You wanted to cook, so we had Italian. I said, "We got to split the meat and taters that we're going to have on Thursday." So we had Italian. It was delicious. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, producer Chad, is going to be in studio with us for the last time. Is that right, Katie?
This is the last time.
The final time that we have a visit with Chad. Make sure you join us in the Facebook Live, facebook.com/Annie Frey Show, and share your recipes with us. If there's a dessert that I need to make, you need to. Someone said apple pie with cheddar cheese. What?
That sounds
what?
great.
I'm going to Google that right now. Stick around, Chad, when we come back.
We all know how major life events can bring uncertainty. It could be from adding a child to the family, retiring from the workforce, or going through a divorce. It may even be from experiencing the death of a loved one and witnessing firsthand how the lack of clear directives can lead to stress for those left behind. Creating or updating a will or trust is a smart way to plan for life's uncertainties and changes, and to protect your family's unique situation. Tucker Allen can help. Tucker Allen's attorneys can guide you through the process, even if you have no idea where to start. We offer affordable fixed-price fees that are explained in your initial consultation, so you can rest assured there are no surprises down the road. Get started. Visit TuckerAllen.com today to schedule your appointment. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Non-attorney compensated spokesperson, Scott Trout, principal partner, Tucker Allen, 1001 South Kirkwood Road, Suite 130, Kirkwood, Missouri, 63122.
This is Happy from Hardee's. Listen closely. Do you hear that? That's the sizzling sound of 2 1/3 pound juicy Angus beef patties stacked with 4 strips of bacon on the Monster Angus Thick Burger. You're getting hungry for the bacon. You're driving to the Angus beef. But wait, don't take your eyes off the road for the monster. When I snap my star fingers, you'll pull into the nearest Hardee's and order the Monster Angus Thick Burger. Feed your happy.
Available at participating restaurants. Price and participation may vary. It's time for your garage door winter maintenance with Overhead Door. For just $89.95, our 26-point operation and safety inspection helps keep your doors and openers running smooth and reliable all winter long. That's one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Look for the genuine, the original red ribbon of Overhead Door. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original.
Attention St. Louis homeowners. Are you looking to sell your house without all the stress?
Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis can buy your house cash and close on your timeline. No commissions, no repairs, no appraisals, no showings, no headache. Call Chris now, 314-782-7000, or go online to chrisbuysHomesSTL.com to get a free no-obligation cash offer for your house. Behind on payments? The tenant stopped paying the rent? The house needs too many repairs? Not a problem. Chris buys houses in any condition and deals with any situation. There's a reason why Chris Buys Homes is the most trusted home buyer in St. Louis. Go online to get your offer today. chrisbuysHomesSTL.com or call 314-782-7000. That's 314-782-7000.
KFTK FM Florissant, K254CR St. Louis, driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, 97.1 FM Talk, a radio.com station.
A vaccine trifecta. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. AstraZeneca becoming the third company to announce promising late-stage results in its vaccine trial.
The AstraZeneca news coming after the Federal Drug Administration Advisory Committee set a date of December 10th to discuss Pfizer's request for an emergency use authorization for its developing vaccine. And that's in addition to drug maker Moderna also waiting on approval with its vaccine candidate.
Fox's Laura Ingle, if the reviews go well, prioritized vaccinations could begin in mid-December, but mass distribution still wouldn't be expected to happen until next year. In the meantime, COVID crackdowns continue with a growing number of curfews. The latest order from California's governor facing pushback not only from the public, but law enforcement. Fox's William Lajeunesse.
At least 15 law enforcement agencies say they will not enforce the curfew, either because of other priorities like crime, they lack the resources, or because the law is so likely to be ignored, it becomes unenforceable. A similar response from police in Oregon, where Governor Kate Brown on Friday ordered a 2-week freeze on indoor and outdoor gatherings.
Under that Oregon rule, no more than 6 people from 2 unrelated households are supposed to be together at one time or place. A near total month-long lockdown will soon be ending, though, in the UK.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced that gyms and non-essential shops across England will be allowed to reopen next week when lockdown ends. Spectators will be allowed to return to some sporting events, and weddings and religious services will also resume.
Fox's Benjamin Hall, a new 3-tiered regional system, is supposed to be the next safety step. Several former Obama administration officials make the cut for a Biden administration as the president-elect prepares for an eventual transition. Some of today's choices would make history, including the first woman to lead the intelligence community. Avril Haines is confirmed as DNI. America is listening to Fox News.
At home with Robert, retired burglar and family man.
Carolers! That's the holiday spirit. Speaking of which, Simply Safe Home Security is having a huge holiday sale. Right now, you can get 40% off a new system and a free camera at simplysafe.com/holiday. That's 40% off the system U.S. News named the best of 2020. Simply Safe protects your whole home 24/7 with monitoring by professionals. The sale ends soon, so go to simplysafe.com/holiday for 40% off and a free camera today.
Dell Technologies just announced their Black Friday sale. They're releasing new doorbusters every weekday, plus up to 50% off cutting-edge tech for your business. There's no better time to upgrade your small business with the latest laptops and desktops with Intel Core processors, plus there's free shipping on everything. Yes, everything. Give Dell Technologies advisors a call. They'll identify the right tech solution for your business. Call 877-ASK-DELL or go to Dell.com/SB Black Friday. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Weather with Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
All is quiet on this Monday afternoon, though still chilly for this time of year. 48 for the high. Call it a mix of clouds and sunshine because tonight we will turn cloudy and cloudy quickly. 40 for the overnight low, but I think we're dry. Tuesday night, not so dry. Cloudy, windy, periods of rain. Could be a thunderstorm, some heavy rain at times. 55 for the high. The rain comes to an end early Wednesday morning. This is 97.1 FM Talk, Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it's a right fit for you. And check out the podcast from the Associated Press, Ground Game, hosted by AP's digital editor, Megan Crane.
Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group are the go-to experts for preparing you for retirement. And Thomas has spent so much time working with 97.1 listeners for years. And I'm sure you know some of them who have gone to him, and he has taken their retirement and put them on the fast track to make sure that everything they've worked so hard for, everything that they've been saving for, all of that hard work, all of the savings of all of those pennies over the year, it's going to work for you when retirement comes. He'll listen to what your plan is. He'll take a look at what you have and make sure that you are set up to not, have to fear any of those strong market downturns. He's going to protect you from that. You'll also get a copy of the second edition of his best-selling book, The Boomer's Guide to a Worry-Free Retirement. 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494. Call Thomas Helbig at the Retirement Advisor Group for your free retirement review. You are not going to be disappointed with the results you get with Thomas. I have not heard anybody who has, but I've heard so many listeners reach out to me and tell me how great it was and how they just wish they would have reached out to him sooner. 314-993-9494, retirementkey.com.
Selling your home creates a lot of questions, right? What's my home worth? Is now a good time to sell, or should I wait until after the holidays? Can all be overwhelming. That's why I trust and recommend my family and friends to Gloria Liu with GL International Realty, part of Coldwell Banker Premier Group. Hey, it's Mark Cox. I've been telling you about Gloria for a while now, and she is the real estate authority in St. Louis. She's got a proprietary marketing system that helps her sell for up to 3% more. That's $9,000 more on a $300,000 home because Gloria has the buyers. She recently sold a home in Eureka. The seller was thrilled to get several offers the first 24 hours and sold for way over asking price in just a week. She's also got a guaranteed sale program. Ask her about it. Get your home sold right with Gloria Liu. Here's her number, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or go online at gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Due to overwhelming response last week, Diamonds Direct is continuing our annual pre-holiday store-wide sale all the way through Cyber Monday. That's right. You get an extra week to take advantage of extraordinary savings. Save 20% and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, designer fashion jewelry, colored gemstones, engagement and wedding ring. Case after case of amazing deals. It's our most popular event of the year. Now extended through Cyber Monday for your convenience. We've asked our designer partners to send even more selection to accommodate the demand. We've received extensions on our aggressive financing options. We've thrown the rule book out the window to make this happen. It's Diamonds Direct's biggest and longest sale ever. We're talking better than typical Black Friday pricing store-wide on the most popular holiday gifts. In a year filled with surprises and changes, this is one you can celebrate. Get her the most memorable and most romantic holiday gift ever and save 20% and more off Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable value price. Don't miss the extended savings now through Cyber Monday at Diamonds Direct.
Olive and 270 at City Place.
You can listen to 97.1 on radio.com through your smart speaker. It's information with perspective. Just ask it to play 97.1 FM Talk. Powered by Dell Technologies. Call 877-ASK-DELL. The Annie Frey Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
So that is Huntington Beach, California, the protests that came out of Governor Newsom's statewide COVID curfew. And we're seeing a lot of other things popping up, some small, some big, just like the report that we just had of this in Pennsylvania. They're going to stop alcohol sales Wednesday night at 5 p.m., which is going to kill that party night, which is what they're trying to do, honestly. And people are going to continue to react. I'm curious, how are people supposed to react to this? Are we supposed to, just shut up and do what we're told? In some capacities, in some situations, that might be necessary, but have they proven that that's the case now? And when you see these protests, how do they make you feel? Let's get our guest in here, Chad Ellis. He's a producer, a co-worker of ours, and this is his last time on the show with us as he is moving to Arizona for bigger and better things. Chad, great to have you back, and we're looking forward to having this last conversation with you.
Great to be back.
Happy Thanksgiving week as well. We're grateful for you. When you see these protests taking place around the country, do you think that this is the start of something? People stand because they're really protesting something very basic, their ability to go out of their house and do what they want.
Yeah, it's definitely see some social unrest stirring back up, just like we seen earlier in the year when it came around to George Floyd and things like that. It was because I started to realize that it wasn't just about George Floyd at that moment. It was the social unrest that people were not happy with big government trying to control them in everything that they do.
Yeah. And you wonder if these are just, if these orders from the governor are just starting right now, if this is the beginning of something, or do you go out and you're like, oh, this is terrible, it's brand new, I protest. And then you kind of get bored of it. And then finally it gets cold outside. So you're like, okay, so I'll stay. I'll just stay inside. I'll just keep to myself. This is a lot of work and it's really cold. So I'm going to just mind my own business. I mean, do these protests, do you think that they have any kind of effect on any kind of outcome?
Honestly, I don't see it having a real effect. It's just going to be a bunch of people defying what has been mandated. And quite honestly, the way that I see it, this government, every time we kind of like push back, they make more and more rules in regards to lockdown and stuff like that. But instead of giving people the opportunity to make these decisions themselves, and for trusting people to have the intelligence to, stay safe, do some type of screening of their own family, and like I've had family members like literally say, like, if we're going to get COVID, we're going to get COVID. We're not going to deprive ourselves of seeing our family because of fear. Like we're not going to follow the fear mongers and just not deal with family and stuff like that. Like I got family coming in from out of town, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna hold back because I'm about to move and things of that nature, and I don't want to get COVID first and foremost, and I don't want to have to deal with, okay, you got 2 new start dates for these one position and a new job. You're trying to stay in the media field, so you're still filling out these applications. So, and then boom, you got a 14-day quarantine. So I don't want that to be the reality for me. So therefore, I'm kind of going to work on all Thanksgiving Day. But it's not putting me at less risk of being around my family, because working at a warehouse, working here, we still come in contact with I still come in contact with the same amount of people that I have last year. Like from working here, like we were only around producers anyway. It's like we seen the salespeople sometimes, but they had their own section of the building, just like we were in our own section. So it's like I'm not really contacting that many different people, or quite fewer people at all. It's like, all right, let's go through the motions, guys, and make
Chad,
sure we're wearing these masks.
You've assessed your situation and you're making the best decisions for yourself.
Yeah,
and to me, it seems like, if you live in the state of Illinois, if you live in the state of California or some of these other states, you don't even need to worry about making that decision. It's going to be made for you.
And that's what I was worried about pre-election. It's like, okay, we're losing our freedom to choose. I mean, a lot of people say we've lost our freedom to choose a long time ago, but it's like my mayor, my governor is making these decisions for me as if I'm a child, or I can't make cognitive decisions for myself. Like I don't have the mental capacity to know what's safe and what's not, or what's the deal. Like I have the same intelligence that they have, probably a little bit more. As well as I do research. Like I do real research and not the listen to the fake news and the media fear mongers that continue to, tell us, oh, COVID's so bad and things are so bad, when in all actuality we found out that a lot of the COVID deaths at the beginning, no matter what you had, no matter what you died from, they labeled it as COVID. They're still doing that now. We see the numbers are rising, but the deaths are like plateauing at the same percentage. So it's like, okay, it seems like we got a handle on this a little bit. Like, of course, we don't have the vaccine, so we can't have total handle on it. But it seems like the hospitals kind of got it. The health experts got it under control. So why are we, as media, as politicians, why are we trying to take it into our own hands and try to do something? And if you go to any of your hospitals, local hospitals, you'll see that they're not full.
Mm-hmm.
And the emergency rooms aren't like extremely packed. Like, quite honestly, the emergency rooms that like I've drove past and stuff like that, pre-COVID, they were packed. Post-COVID, not so much.
So you and I have this discussion a lot, and I think you've said it on air quite a few times, that you're kind of like the odd man out in a lot of your friendship groups, where you're more the conservative thinking, Republican thinking, small business, entrepreneur, and a lot of the people that you surround yourself with are more liberal, democratic. They don't mind the government kind of holding their hand through life. And I find myself in that same situation with a lot of my friends. But are you having discussions with those people that are primarily our age, that might not know a lot of the research that's been done with COVID, that are kind of in a panic and maybe part of this social influence movement of telling people constantly, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, social distance, don't be with people, don't be with loved ones this Thanksgiving? Are you having these discussions with people that are like that and seeing any difference and the way that they're looking at COVID, or because of these lockdowns, because of the case numbers?
Quite honestly, the people that I talk to don't care about COVID. Like they're worried about their regular lives going back to how it was.
Are they worried like, am I going to be an essential worker or am I not going to be an essential
and
worker?
they're not thinking about what will happen during another lockdown. They're just thinking, well, during the election, they were just thinking, let's get Trump out of office. Post the election, because they think Biden has won, they're like, they don't want to talk about the restrictions that are getting like thrown at us like across the board. They don't want to talk about it. And now they're like kind of like tucking their tail, because when I told them like, all right, you guys know you guys are voting to be controlled, they have nothing to say. They're like, well, you're crazy.
Was it just about beating Trump?
It was.
Is it like a total mind-consuming hatred for Donald Trump?
It was, and what they're fastly realizing is maybe Trump wasn't so bad. Like, maybe.
What do they hate about him?
They hate the media has said that he's a racist. That's what they hate. They hate he's a free speak. This is what they hate. They hate that he exercises his First Amendment right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'll say. Like, first and foremost, that's what they hate the most. But the same people that hate that kind of stuff are the same people that are bashing him on Twitter, saying any and everything they want. So if he was to respond, he's a bad person.
And he's going to get dinged on Twitter.
Yeah, because he's the president. Well, you're management at your job. You're associate at your job. You're a college graduate. Let's hold you to a standard of a college graduate. A college graduate shouldn't be speaking blasphemy like this either. So if if we're holding each other to a standard, what is the actual standard, and is it biased?
Chad, do you feel like Trump has a racist tendency? Do you think that he likes to toe that line, or do you think that there has been a media narrative that has manifested that to follow him wherever he goes?
Honestly, Trump's past has gave him that negative connotation of being a racist. And that's really what they base it off, or they base it off the people that are in the Republican Party at the rallies, and they base it off
But those people aren't racists. There's nothing about those people that you can't. I mean, you could look at a rally that has 20,000 people at it,
but it's just judgmental in the way that the media depicts it. Because quite honestly, there are black people at these rallies as well. But at the beginning, you seen it was, they kind of tried to label it as, oh, only the rednecks are at Trump rallies and things like that, when that wasn't actually true. But that's how the media made the narrative look.
Again, it's the media. It's always the media. It's the non-truth tellers. Because I think about the accomplishments that the president's administration has had, and I think about the reasons why people say that they don't like him. He makes them mad. He hurts their feelings. And when you
Very
talk,
emotional,
yes,
America.
it's entirely emotional. And then when you start thinking about the direction that you head in a non-Trump world, and I say that because our choices were Trump or Biden, not because it's always a Trump world. But when you think about the drastic departure from the success that we've had in this administration, especially economically speaking, an economy that's on fire, that raises all boats. That helps everybody. When the economy is on fire, it's the most equal opportunity way to lift everybody up. Because when jobs are plentiful, then employees are in demand. When employees are in demand, then you have to offer something to good employees to make the good employees choose to go, work in your business and work for you. You become a commodity that is sought after when the economy is good. And I just see so many of the policies that this alternative to Trump in Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, has to offer. I'm so frustrated because when I put out there on Twitter Halloween weekend, I put name a Joe Biden policy, and then the next day about the same time I said name a Donald Trump policy. It was well over 50% of the replies, if they even did choose to name a policy, were just over the top hateful about how much Donald Trump, they despise him and how awful of a human he was. And that was really what I was asking initially. I wondered if Trump people could say things that he has done or policy. I wondered if they could speak outside of the context of Trump is a god. And they did. And the people with the Biden one, I'm not going to say it went viral, and Alyssa Milano retweeted it, and she tried to dunk on me, which is hilarious. I felt like I really made it at that point. But the vitriol that exists for Donald Trump is a very amateur way to go about politics. And I feel like, I don't know, Chad, how you feel about this with your friends who support Joe Biden or just supported the anti-Trump. They're going to have a rude awakening if Joe Biden gets in there and he starts executive ordering away all of these things that the president has put in. And, now we're talking about policy.
Yeah, it's going to be a sad day when some of those people are actually going to lose their jobs because if you tax the 1% or the 400,000 plus, they're not going to take that hit. The employee is going to take that hit. A lot of people don't realize that. But I realized that a long time ago. So that's kind of what made me like, okay, well, I gotta be for big business if big business is the people that's hiring me. Like I gotta protect my bottom line just like they gotta protect theirs. So I started looking at it in a business aspect. A lot of people aren't looking at any of this stuff as strictly business. They're looking at it as an emotional gain or or any of the other things that they can look at it as moreover the let's get Trump out. And that's what they're looking at. So they're not really concerned on how is it actually going to affect them in the future. Like I think about, okay, Joe Biden's dead and gone. I'm still going to be here. So what is he going to put in policy that's going to affect me when he's gone or when he's out of office? And I'm still dealing with the rhetoric of, oh yeah, Joe Biden did another 94 act on us. So.
Yeah, well, we're going to probably find out here in the coming months and years. Chad, happy Thanksgiving to you, and we wish you very well. We are grateful for all the time you spent working with us here on the Annie Frey Show and visiting with us on Mondays through this crazy year of 2020, and we wish you the very, very best.
Happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate all the time that you guys have allowed me to spew my thoughts on you.
Yeah, we're grateful for you. Thanks, Chad. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we can take some phone calls. Curious to what you think about, the effect of these protests to the shutdowns that we're seeing across the country. And, is there lasting power in that? Is there staying power in that? I know that here in St. Louis County, there's a lot of people frustrated with the rules and regulations that have been put in place, and also in the state of Illinois. Can you be responsible all by yourself, or do you need a government overlord to make your decisions for you? 314-241-9797 if you want to join the show. We'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show.
Tony La Russa here. Has your loss of energy and weight gain thrown you a curveball in your relationship? If so, go see my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Discreet, first-class professionals will help you hit those curves out of the park. VictoryMen'sHealth.com. That's VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure is just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, headaches? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates. Call 618-206-5935. 618-206-5935. That's 618-206-5935.
Find your perfect Mazda with significant savings from all three Bomarito Mazda locations. Over 500 2020 Mazdas to choose from in every color and style. Plus, every new Mazda has the Bomarito nationwide warranty, 10 years, 200,000 miles. Right now, during Mazda's Season of Inspiration sales event, buy a 2020 Mazda from Bomarito with zero interest for 60 months and 90 days deferred payment. That's at all three Bomarito Mazda locations.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at brooklinen.com. If you're a longtime listener, you've probably heard us talk about Brooklinen before. They have beautiful home essentials, bedding, sheets, towels, and much, much more that don't cost an arm and a leg. From your bed to your bathroom, you've got comfort covered, and this holiday is no exception. And best of all, Brooklinen's biggest sale of the year is coming soon. Brooklinen has got so many options, especially for gifting. Always those people on your gift-giving list that are going to be difficult to buy for. That's why we have almost literally everything. We have candles, we have silk eye masks, we have scrunchies, we have things for your home, we have athletic wear, we have leisure wear, we have things for your bathroom, everything to make your life easier and cozier. So cozy up to Brooklinen's biggest sale of the year happening right now. Get huge savings and free shipping during Brooklinen's biggest sale of the year. 20% off your order only at brooklinen.com. Use promo code Glover to let them know you're from the DGS.
Throughout history, rings of all kinds have been given to symbolize adoration and devotion. And who doesn't love a beautiful ring? Shane Company has the largest selection of unique rings and wedding bands, crafted to last a lifetime. For a new relationship, a promise ring will be a treasured gift. If you've been together many years, a 3-stone ring might make her tear up. The stones represent the past, present, and future. If you're looking for a wedding band, we offer every style, from simple classics to elaborate decorative bands, as well as bands with sapphires and colorful gemstones. She can either stack it with her wedding set or wear it on her right hand. Every time she looks at her ring, she'll be reminded of your love. We're going above and beyond to make shopping safer. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com. Check our website for special holiday hours.
Being safe doesn't mean being scared. We all want to get back to what we love, to going out, shopping local, even going to work and school. But to protect the people we care about, it's important that we all take precautions. You can feel okay and still spread this virus. Wearing masks, washing your hands, and social distancing can get us back to a world where we can all breathe a little easier. Show me you care at showmestrong.mo.gov.
The latest local forecast and severe weather coverage you can count on from The Name in St. Louis Weather.
This is 97.1's Chief Meteorologist, Dave Murray.
On 97.1 FM Talk. Powered by Air Comfort Service.
I've got a new age girl. Tell us what she's like. Environmentalist girl. Does she ride a bike? She has a crystal necklace. She spends a lot of cash. Her vibes are rather reckless. Heading for a crash. Or a flowing skirt is blowing in a transcendental wind. And she wonders without knowing, where did we begin?
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Hope you're having a great Monday. About to wrap it up here pretty soon on our show. I wonder how many of y'all have a short week this week. We do. We have a little bit of a short week. The show will be here through Wednesday and then Thursday. What is the schedule, Katie?
Thursday is going to be a best of.
I only know my schedule.
I'm putting it together right now. And then Dr. Randy Tobler is going to be on hosting the show Friday. And I believe Chad is going to be producing with him.
Fantastic. Which means you'll be off.
I will be off.
In theory. Unless you're going to stay here and supervise.
Nope.
I will be here Monday and Tuesday, and Tim Jones in on Wednesday, from what I understand. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Short week.
Short week.
We all need it. Thanksgiving plans, are they all settled for you guys?
Pretty much settled. Yeah, pretty much settled for us. We had to have a discussion on Saturday when I saw my parents, because we're used to doing like 35, 40 people. I mean, we're talking like second cousins come to our Thanksgiving and all of our holidays. So we're reducing it now to 7 of us. And my dad has been having some health issues lately. So my dad kind of opted out, and he had a discussion with us about it from coming to Thanksgiving. Again, not something that I needed the government to tell me about or my dad to make the decision. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit different than usual.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, it's interesting. You get to a certain age, and I don't know if we've gotten there, but our family is so big that we were having trouble figuring out how to do Thanksgiving anyway. I think a couple of years ago, we decided to just go to a restaurant in Alton, which we can't do this year. But this is sort of forcing us to figure out how to do it smaller, which we were going to eventually have to do anyway, because our family was kind of outgrowing itself.
I wonder how many people after this year will have if they're, when you do the same thing over and over and over again, you don't think about what else there is. You just, it's tradition. That's what tradition is. It's what you just do. And, for my family, I am glad that 2020 came the way it did, in that when I lost my grandma in September, I don't know that we would have gotten together with her, but my Thanksgiving is traditionally my grandma, my uncle, and my family. So it's like my immediate family. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm counting out loud right now. I know there's like 10, 12 of us, and then my grandma and my uncle. But really, we all spend time together anyway. I mean, I spend the least amount of time with my uncle, but I still see him from time to time. So to not have to do that, but at the same time, like, what would my grandma do on Thanksgiving? Like, it's just when I think about my 95-year-old grandma, towards July, I would call her and talk to her on the phone. And then, every once in a while, once a week or so, we would go sit in her driveway and talk to her from the driveway. But she got to the point where it's not that she didn't care about COVID anymore, but what are we saving ourselves from?
Yeah.
When you're 95 years old and you've spent March, April, May, June, July, 5 months in solitude, you don't go to church, you don't go to handbells, you don't go to card club, you don't do any of these things, and you're a 95-year-old widow and you don't see your family every Sunday like you're used to, or what are you saving yourself from? That doesn't mean that that's not to imply that it's the wrong thing to do to socially distance. It's just really, really hard. And it's the same thing to me when I'm thinking about my grandma, and she said, she said to me, I think I'm about done with this. And I said, well, Grandma, I said, if you're comfortable with it, I said, we can come sit, my family specifically, like my husband and my kids, I said, we'll come visit you on your deck. We'll come, we bought her for Mother's Day. We bought her some nice new deck furniture so that she could go sit out there and be comfortable outside and visit with people a little bit more. And, we could all wear masks. We'll do that's an instance where I would do anything that my grandma asked me to do if it made her feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. I don't give a crap about the science behind it. If it made her feel more comfortable and it gave her the, shot in the arm that she needed to go get up and do something the next day, I was willing to do that. But, it's the same thing when you think about shutting down businesses, people losing their livelihoods, economically speaking. You get to some point where you say, I think I can't go on like this. I don't think that I can sustain this lifestyle the way we're living it, because COVID isn't your physical health isn't the only thing COVID is attacking right now. It's attacking your mental health. It's attacking your relationships. It's probably attacking your faith a little bit and testing it a little bit. It's attacking your wallet. It's attacking your ability to maintain and grow your business. It's attacking your ability to retain your job. It's attacking your ability to educate your kids. If you are stuck with your kids at home and you are not an educator, I am not an educator. I cannot teach my kids. I would say we are recessing all day, and we will I have friends who sold their house, got rid of everything. They bought an RV and they wander around the country from place to place. And they it's called unschooling. I could be more along the lines of unschooling because I could not school my own children. I just am not capable of that. I'd be like, color this picture. That's fine. Good enough. I would stress me out too much. But COVID is bigger than just the physical health aspect of it. And to me, the sickest part of the whole thing is that the advice we're getting from our leaders is they pick apart the parts of this that politically benefit them and politically hurt their opponents. It's not about us. It's not about your health. It's not about your physical health. It's not about your mental health. It's not about your business. It's about what's best for them politically. And we sit here and we look at each other like, what are we supposed to do? How are we, we want to do, there are good people in the world. There are bad people in the world. And the good people in the world want to do everything they can to contribute, but they don't need to be ruled. And the further we go down this road, and you see these protests in California, the further we go down there, I feel like the leaders have been playing this game politically. The people are going to start playing this game politically. And I have a feeling if the people step into that arena with the politicians who have been working so hard to win political battles by using COVID, then the worst case scenario happens. No, then everybody's making the masses are making decisions based on political positions and not common sense. I don't know. I think that the further we get down this road of massive government overreach, the more dangerous it'll be for us.
Go ahead, Ryan. Mm-hmm.
Well, we lost our uncle probably about the same time as you lost your grandma, Annie. I think it was the week before. It was in October. And it's so sad this year looking at Christmas, Thanksgiving, and then we missed Easter. Those are the only holidays I ever saw my uncle. And so we didn't see him on Easter. So it means the last time I ever saw him was Christmas. And that means we're going into another holiday season. A lot of people probably in the same boat, that you're not going to get to see the people that you haven't already seen for probably a year. And if you lose somebody this year, you didn't see them for 2 years. I mean, you're talking about the mental health aspect and the relational aspect, man. It's attacking from every angle, and it's terrible, and it's really highlighted during the holiday season.
And I was just going to say too, Annie, you were talking about, there are good people and there are bad people. But now I think that now with social media and the influence it has, and we talk about this all the time on the show, there's so many people that are just throwing their opinion out there saying, you need to wear a mask, you need to social distance, you have to. Now, even good people that are making decisions for themselves and for their families thinking, okay, I would like to see 7 other people for the holidays just to lift my spirits a little bit. Those good people are being made out to be bad people because they made a choice for themselves. And we're just spiraling. We're spiraling down in this freaking web of people telling other people what to do and how to be, and classifying these really good people as bad people for doing nothing wrong.
And I've seen too, Katie, your story about getting COVID and just observing the way people would react to the news of you getting COVID and how people would react, who would reach out and how they would reach out. Like, these are the types of moments where in general, you kind of get to take an audit of your relationships that you have in your life, and you don't expect it. And that's why it can kind of hit you hard when you go through something like that, and you've got, a flood of people who are reaching out to you to say, Katie, how are you? What's going on with you? Or when if I get COVID and then it turns out that half the people in your life are freaking out and they're mad at you, or they're not reaching out to you and talking to you because you're not useful to them at that point in time. There are so many instances where we are having to survey our lives in ways that we probably have never had to before, where you have to inventory all the people in your life, because you're really asking yourself, like, who can I see and who can I not see? How can I see the people who I really want to see, but have to take extra special care of? How can I make that happen? Is it even worth it to make that happen? It becomes overwhelming when you have to answer all of these questions that especially when you don't know the answers, the stakes are so incredibly high. I got to say, it's one of the reasons why I really have loved having Dr. Scott Hardeman on the show every Monday as kind of a benchmark for myself to get a nonpartisan medical viewpoint of this pandemic. And, also to talk about, like, if you just look at the survival rates, folks, look at the death rate of what this virus is doing to people and see how far we've come, because it's a really, really amazing feat that we've come this far since March, and we still have a long way to go. Once that vaccine gets out, hopefully that will make a huge impact on our ability to get back to normal. I was reading some folks saying that maybe we'll be back to normal by May. I feel like in March they were saying June of 2020, and that didn't happen. So I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
Taking a quick break. When we come back, one more segment before we turn it over to the DGS. If you didn't hear Dr. Scott Hardeman earlier in the show, you can check out the Annie Frey Show podcast at radio.com or wherever you get podcasts from. We'll be back in just a minute.
She drives a winning car.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show.
Why she doesn't bite you.
Talk lines are open now at 314-241-9797 or 866-455-9797.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. You're not the only one working more from inside your home. So is your HVAC system. If your system needs service, Air Comfort Service will promptly and safely be there for you. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm here in St. Louis. I've been warning our clients that IRS employees are back at work since mid-July, and their collection efforts have ramped up. Well, sure enough, it looks like it's happening. So if you have unfiled tax returns, wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, now's the time to call the Lance Drury Law Firm before the IRS calls you. Tax resolution plans are based off your current income. So if your current income is less than normal due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this is precisely the time for the Lance Drury Law Firm to help you. Your consultation is free, so don't put it off. The Lance Drury Law Firm focuses solely on tax resolution law. It's all we do. And if you have IRS problems, you have legal problems. Let us use our tax law resolution experience to guide you and work on your custom resolution plan. Call now. It's free and confidential. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey there, it's Billy with Inside Out Tax. I used to work for the IRS and I help people every day get to the bottom of their tax problems. What most folks don't know is that the IRS by law only has 10 years to collect a tax debt. Once this date expires, the debt is removed. If you have a tax debt that you'd like for me to look at, then give me a call to set up a free 30-minute consultation at 636-495-5700 or reach out to us through our website at InsideOutTax.com.
Jules on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches on site. Jules on Hampton is a premier jeweler with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jules on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jules on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. Jules on Hampton.
I'm Thomas Helbig, founder of the Retirement Advisory Group. When I meet my clients for the first time, many of them have worked over 90,000 hours and have built up a life savings. Their question is, what can I do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? Not only do we set up a strategy to protect your retirement nest egg from market losses, but we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money. You've earned it, and it's my job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call me now for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review, and you'll get a copy of my second edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. This book covers everything I teach in my live educational events. Call me now at 314-993-9494 or online at retirementkey.com. Once again, that's 314-993-9494 or online at retirementkey.com.
It's Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2020. Works drills are the must-have tool for every household. Powered by a lithium-ion battery, they're efficient and lightweight, making them easy to control for any project you need it for. Works drills are 11% off. It's Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2020. Savings are good until November 25th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Rodney Boyd. It's a critical time for people in the region to support their favorite restaurant. Make a new favorite restaurant or 2 or 5. They need it. They depend on us, and they're there for us, and we need to look back and help them too.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9.
We're going to dance. We're going to dance. We're going to dance and have some fun.
So I'm reading an article here that just came out from The Guardian, and it's by Martin Pengeli. Whatever. Here's the headline. Bernstein, remember Carl Bernstein, names 21 Republican senators who privately expressed contempt for Trump. So there was a suggestion that this story was going to be published and that these senators were going to be named. And I thought maybe you guys would like to know who they are. Yep. So these are the senators. These are the Republican senators who have privately expressed contempt for President Trump. And let's see here. Before I do that, it says his information, he said, came from colleagues, staff members, lobbyists, and White House aides. So, take this for with a grain of salt, of course. Here they are. Rob Portman from Ohio, Lamar Alexander in Tennessee, Ben Sass, Nebraska, Roy Blunt, Missouri, Susan Collins in Maine, Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, John Cornyn in Texas, John Thune in South Dakota, Mitt Romney, Utah, Mike Braun, and Todd Young in Indiana, Tim Scott in South Carolina, Rick Scott and Marco Rubio in Florida, Chuck Grassley in Iowa, Richard Burr in North Carolina, Pat Toomey, Pennsylvania, Martha McSally, Arizona, Jerry Moran and Pat Roberts in Kansas, and Richard Shelby in Alabama. I don't know that there's any name in here that surprises me.
Yeah.
And also when you consider too the fact that, Donald Trump has got to know that he's said it himself. He doesn't always make everything easy for everybody. Like the way he goes about doing things, he's like the Kool-Aid man. He just bursts into the room with a bright idea and he's there. And it's like you get... There's a way that the Senate does things. Like when you watch the Judiciary Committee having these hearings when they were having Amy Coney Barrett there, thank God they went through with that, man. Can you even imagine? When they were doing it, there's just a decorum that the Senate has that is not very Trumpian. It's just not. And, some people would label it the swamp. Some people would label that, the fact that I saw, Dianne Feinstein and Lindsey Graham hugging. And then just the other day, we saw Kamala Harris and Lindsey Graham fist bumping. What was that? I mean, do we need to know the details of the fist bump? I mean, that's the whole story. It was all over the place. Do I need to know why they fist bumped? Is it possible that they could like each other as humans and despise each other's policies? It's possible. It's actually, some of you may disagree with me. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that you can have an organization of people where your thoughts and opinions on policy don't stop you from treating each other with some sort of humanity. Maybe if they did that not when they didn't think they were on camera, maybe if there was a way that they spoke about one another, maybe if we actually saw them coming together to work on things, I assume that used to happen in some capacity, but all we ever see is mudslinging in the media. You don't see fist bumps. You're not supposed to see fist bumps. Dianne Feinstein got blasted for even considering saying something nice about Lindsey Graham, let alone an actual hug. Like, how dare she? Everyone's like, she's old. She needs to get out of there. And I'm like, now because she hugged Lindsey Graham, she's like 87 years old. I'm not exaggerating. And you want her out now because she hugged Lindsey Graham? Like, these people wine and dine together, sometimes even without masks on. If we saw more of that, maybe, the peons down the line would treat each other a little bit more kindly. Probably not on social media.
That list doesn't surprise me almost at all. There's a couple names that I'm like, oh, really? But I also question, Trump is a disruptor. That's what he does. And so people who are exactly like you were talking about in the Senate, they've known that things happen a certain way for a long time. Some of them have been there for a long, long time. And if you have a disruptor come in who kind of gets in the way of the way things normally go, and you question that, does that mean that, according to Carl Bernstein, that you are privately holding him in contempt? I'm sure almost every senator and every politician and every aide of Trump has at one point been frustrated with him. Does that mean they all hold him in contempt? I doubt it.
Katie, do your Trump hating friends, is it a problem for any of them that you like him? Or that you don't hate him, whatever it is that you...
I think I don't know if it's necessarily a problem. I think that there's just a lot of questions that surround why I would vote for him and why I would even think that he is a decent human being. Whenever you say something in a young group of people who are activists, who are super, super liberal, and if you have one nice thing to say about Trump that he did decently, that he did a good job on, there's a lot more questions that follow that. And I don't necessarily think it's because these people that are asking me are uneducated. I think that they want to play the gotcha game where they ask you a question, you give them an answer, the answer is not good enough, so they go down a rabbit hole of all the things that Trump has done wrong. And that's where the conversation leads to. It's not about the things that Trump has done right. They just want to retort what you have to say with something that Trump did wrong to see if you're going to agree with that. So that's where they lead.
I just got a text message from Tim Scott right now. This is awkward.
Uh-oh.
Have you got? So you have? I'm still getting these texts. And it's all about the Senate. And they're making me really angry. This one from Tim Scott that I just got now. Received some bad news. The Senate runoffs in Georgia are tied. I need 500 Patriots to save the Senate by midnight. Well, I don't know that their midnight deadline is really as pending as you think it is. But let me find this. Here's one I got, November 22nd. That's yesterday. We're finished. Democrats will seize the Senate majority unless you rush support for Perdue and Loeffler. 5 times gift match, 1 hour left. Well, I didn't send anything there. Here's the one that made me mad. Here's the one that made me want to go find the 26-year-old who's sending these and
shake them.
Yes. Probably her. I'm just guessing. You ignored 11 messages. Don't ignore this one. Help Perdue and Loeffler keep the Senate red and we'll match you. I mean, I don't know if you're watching live. These are all from this number.
Oh my gosh.
That's just from that number. I get, I'm not even exaggerating, at least 6 text messages a day, acting like I'm the one who's about to lose Georgia, that I'm the one whose fault it is. And I'm like, the social media speak has gone too far. You don't understand that you're not only not squeezing pennies out of me, it makes me want to go counterproductive here and say things like this on the air where I'm like, what are you doing? Make it stop. I want these two. I want Perdue and Loeffler to win as much, if not more, than anybody I know for the sake of the country. Not to sound too dramatic here. I want that to happen. I would maybe consider donating some money, but you can't threaten me with the fact that a loss is going to be on me sitting in, the east side of the river from the St. Louis Arch. This is somehow going to be my fault. Whose idea is this? It's harassment. It's it's digital harassment. I have got
digital harassment.
Trump Christmas card. We're reaching out to top supporters. Sign the card now. To add your name to the top. Probably not going to actually happen there. Dan Crenshaw, Pelosi and Schumer, 2 Senate seats from total, all caps, control. Without your help, we could lose it all. How dumb do you think I am? What did I do to imply that I was this gullible or this impressionable? Where have I gone wrong? In here, it's Ted Cruz.
No.
Dems are all in on Georgia. If you make a 6 times matching contribution today, friend, we can close the gap.
Friend.
Well, that's funny. That's not what Dan Crenshaw told me the other day. Tom Cotton said Kelly is facing the most radical Dem in the nation, friend. We cannot let him flip the Senate. If these people want to come on this show, I might make a donation, senators. But stop texting me. I didn't give you my phone number, and I've tried to take it off of everywhere that I submitted it, and I can't. It's just awful.
But if they lose, we're going to hold you accountable.
If you reply stop, they just text you from another number in 30 minutes. Somebody better donate some money so that they stop hassling me. It's going to be on all of you. That's what it's going to be. All right, let's hand this over to the DGS. Check out the podcast, Andy Frey Show, at radio.com, wherever you get your podcasts. DGS, up next.
The Hyundai Thanksgiving sales event is going on now, so that means